Chapter 26. Obadiah played a very important role in Tony Stark's life, especially after his father passed away. Not to mention helping Tony take charge of the entire company. Tony was only in his early 20s at that time. He was extremely wealthy, had a genius brain, and a self-righteous temper. I don't know how much trouble and romantic debts he got into out there. All of this was because Obadiah had been quietly cleaning up Tony's mess. It was not until the appearance of Pepper Potts that she gradually disappeared from Tony's personal life. Although he did that at the time so that Tony, the old hen, could lay golden eggs for him with peace of mind. But from Tony's point of view, he definitely has deep feelings for Obadiah. Partner, friend, elder, even father. In fact, he knew there was a problem as soon as he came back. His route, and the terrorists had a large number of weapons from his company. There aren't many people who can do all of these things at the same time. Tony Stark is not a fool, but when it comes to interpersonal emotions, any genius would become half an idiot. He didn't want to think about it, and was a little afraid to find the answer himself. Qin Xiao had only spoken half of what he said when Tony already understood everything. Over the years, Stark Industries has completely become the world's largest arms dealer. Tony Stark's numerous inventions and designs have completely consolidated the arms market. In other words, Tony has paved the way for future weapon designs. All the scientists at Stark Industries have to do in the future is follow Tony's path. So in Obadiah's eyes, Tony Stark went from being a hen that laid golden eggs to a stumbling block that prevented him from completely controlling Stark Industries. Naturally, Qin Xiao didn't need to explain these reasons. As long as it was confirmed that it was Obadiah who did it, Tony would understand it himself. Hey, Tony drank a whole bottle of beer in one gulp and exhaled heavily. So now, you are monitoring him with all your strength, right? I don't know, I'm just a temporary worker, Tony. People saw that I'm a super soldier, but judging by the way he does things, it should be. It depends on what you think. Tony, you have seen the weapons in those people's hands. These are the ones we saw. We don't know how many more we didn't see. Terrorists? Drug dealers? Seeing Tony Stark looking a little hesitant, Qin Xiao said from the side. I know. Even if I stop the production of weapons, he still has the means and resources to secretly produce and sell them in the company. Tony frowned and ruffled his hair fiercely. Advertisement, give me some time, I will let him leave the company and give him a chance to enjoy his old age. Tony still felt a little bit reluctant. Maybe this was destined, Ironmonger was destined to be born and become known as Iron Man. The difference is that Qin Xiao may have to be added now. Okay. I'll tell them not to act on their own. Qin Xiao agreed very readily. Now he has 30% of Hulk's power, but in the Marvel movie world, his fighting power may not be enough in the later stages. But at this moment, 30% of Hulk's strength is like a bug. Iron Overlord is nothing more than a thicker cardboard shell, which is a little more troublesome to tear apart. Tony, I understand how you feel. It's okay. There's no one else here. If you want to cry, just cry. Come and lean on my broad shoulders. Baby. Get lost. Jarvis, contact the LAPD and tell them a pervert broke into my house. Qin Xiao didn't know what S.H.I.E.L.D.'s decision was regarding Obadiah. I could only call Black Widow. What do you want to talk to me about? Intern agent. This time, there was no sound of gunfire around Black Widow, it was very quiet. Something happened, something big happened, I don't want to do it anymore. I thought I would join the biggest intelligence agency, become a mysterious agent, save the world whenever I want, and have sexy beauties as my partners. Who knew I would become an intern agent? Not only did I not have to save the world, but the beautiful agent next to me also disappeared. Sigh. Do you know how it feels to miss someone and not be able to sleep every day? Qin Xiao's teasing made Black Widow burst into pleasant laughter. If you really miss me that much, I'll go to Los Angeles to see you after this mission is over. Normally, every day is filled with tasks and all conversations are about official business. Could it be that Qin Xiao's few serious words brought a different mood to Black Widow? Oh, you said that, liars are puppies. Qin Xiao's childish words made Black Widow feel particularly sincere. Laughed even more happily. Okay, liars are puppies. Well, there is something I want to tell you about Obadiah. Qin Xiao repeated what Tony meant. After listening to this, Black Widow hung up the phone and helped Qin Xiao ask something. S.H.I.E.L.D. can respect Tony Stark's opinion, but S.H.I.E.L.D. will keep monitoring him. Advertisement: once S.H.I.E.L.D. discovers that he has made some small moves behind the scenes, it will take action immediately. This can be considered as an explanation to Tony. If Obadiah seeks death himself, there will be nothing we can do. By the way, you just said you were on a mission. What mission? Is it dangerous? Do you need my help? After finishing his business, Qin Xiao changed the subject. This is confidential. You don't have enough clearance, Mr. Intern Agent. Black Widow teased Qin Xiao. After he finished speaking, he felt the sincere concern in Qin Xiao's words and added another sentence. Don't worry, this mission is safe and there's no danger. Damn it, I swear, next time we meet I'm going to smash Nick Fury's egg-soaked head into pieces. Qin Xiao said viciously, he was fed up with the title of Intern Agent. Boiled egghead, ha ha ha. Your nickname is very appropriate. Nick will be PD off to death if he knows you. Okay, I won't talk to you anymore. I have to go to work. Wait for me in Los Angeles. Internship agent. Black Widow also teased Qin Xiao for a rare moment. After hanging up the phone, Black Widow stared at the phone in front of him in a daze. Qin Xiao is different from the people around her. The way he speaks and his concern are just like those of some ordinary young people. This is exactly what Black Widow lacks and longs for, it's a warm feeling. I can't really fall in love with this boy. Black Widow muttered, then immediately dismissed the idea. He smiled bitterly, thinking that he would never have the chance to experience that kind of ordinary happiness in his lifetime. Qin Xiao threw his phone on the sofa and looked at the night view outside the window. At the moment, a square golden portal suddenly appeared behind Qin Xiao. A woman wearing a black combat uniform with the word TVA printed on it walked out. But just as the woman stepped into Qin Xiao's apartment, a hand suddenly appeared in the door. He pulled the woman back directly. Then the golden portal disappeared. Qin Xiao suddenly seemed to sense something and turned around abruptly. Empty. Is it wrong? Maybe I didn't sleep well these past few days. Qin Xiao scratched his head and said angrily. Advertisement. Chapter 27. The Nameless Place, the headquarters of the Time Variance Administration. The woman who had just appeared strangely behind Qin Xiao was standing in a room similar to a courtroom. In front of her, on a seat similar to that of a judge, sat a young woman with blonde hair and in uniform. I don't understand. Why do you want to stop me from arresting the criminal? That person violated the sacred timeline. Moreover, he is not only a time criminal, his appearance even affected the original sacred timeline. The woman in black accused the blonde woman who was sitting high up in the court. C18, I fully understand your determination to defend the sacred timeline, but the great temporal Asgardians are paying close attention to this incident. It is the temporal Asgardians' will to stop you from arresting that person. The blonde said calmly with a blank expression on her face. But he will cause a riot. The sacred timeline cannot be desecrated. The woman in black was still somewhat indignant. She was born to protect this, as they named it, the sacred timeline. Are you questioning the Asgardians' decision? The blonde woman's voice suddenly became louder. I don't dare. When Asgardian was mentioned, the woman in black immediately suppressed her anger and bowed slightly. Very good. The blonde nodded in satisfaction. The time Asgardians are omniscient and omnipotent. All I need to do is execute their ideas. Go ahead. After the woman in black left, the lights in the entire court went out one by one. A sigh was heard in the darkness. Regarding the Time Variance Administration, readers who don't know can go and watch Marvel's new show, Loki. I personally think it is much more exciting than WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier. Qin Xiao was completely unaware of the actions of the Time Mutation Administration. After being idle for several days, he came to Tony's house again. This time he came here mainly for Jarvis, and he still had 2,000 points remaining in the Systems Points Mall. So far, a total of 3,000 points have been obtained, which is still some distance away from the opening of the second-level mall. But he had nothing to exchange so far, the only thing left was a real currency exchange. But it is of no help at all in this world, except that this option allows him to no longer worry about money in the real world. Advertisement. But if he wants to live a free and easy life, money alone is not enough, he must create a business empire. A business empire that masters high-end technology. So the question is, which company has the best high-end technology? Black Panther won't come out, Tony will be king. So, Qin Xiao shamelessly came to Tony's laboratory. Bang! As soon as I walked down the basement, I saw Tony spinning and flying into the air. The whole person turned upside down and hit hard a protruding wall in mid-air. Then, like a sticker, the man slid down the wall upside down. Qin Xiao rushed forward and grabbed Tony's ankle, preventing him from hitting the ground with his head in an embarrassing situation. You should find a private acrobatics teacher, Tony. I saved you again. You'd better take a notebook and write it down. Damn it. I should have started the experiment from 10%. Let me down. 2 minutes later, Tony put an ice pack on his neck and said to Qin Xiao in surprise. What do you want an AI butler for? With all due respect, your apartment is not even as big as my garage, and it seems you're renting it. I've seen an apartment in downtown Los Angeles and I'm planning to buy it and renovate it. I want to make all the electrical appliances in the house fully automatic, like a smart home. It doesn't have to be as high level as Jarvis. Do you understand what I mean? Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and said that Tony's words were not very hurtful, but extremely insulting. But you have no way to refute it. Comparing your wealth with his is like using your entire fortune to challenge his pocket money. Then go buy the house first, and then give me the architectural drawings. Don't worry about anything else. I will help you set up a private server and install a smart program for you. I'll have Pepper bring people from the company over to decorate according to my drawings, but you have to buy the furniture yourself. Tony. I love you. Don't worry, I will give you the money. Qin Xiao put his arm around Tony's shoulders and smiled in a nasty way. Tony glanced at Qin Xiao arrogantly, then waved his hand to sweep Qin Xiao's arm away. He said with disdain, keep your pitiful possessions, poor BD. Anything you can take out of my garage is worth more than your house. Okay, I know you're rich. You're Tony Stark. In that case, you can also help me with the furniture. I think I'm still short of a car. I see the ones in your garage. Get lost. Jarvis, revoke this guy's privileges. I don't want to see him again. The two of them were joking with each other. A news item on the TV that had been on attracted Tony's attention. Advertisement yesterday, a small town called Kumala experienced a bloodbath by a group of terrorists who called themselves 10 Rings. Along with the voices of reporters on the scene, the ruins of the town appeared on TV. There were many civilian bodies lying on the roadside, including many women and children. In some footage of terrorists, the word Stark on their weapons is particularly obvious and eye-catching. In particular, there was a bald man who looked like a leader, standing in the ruins and directing the terrorists to commit atrocities. Is it him? This guy is still alive. Tony and Qin Xiao said almost at the same time. They both saw with their own eyes that the bald man walked to the entrance of the cave, and Tony even pressed the detonator with his own hands. I didn't expect this bald guy to be so lucky and not die. Damn it. Ethan. Tony suddenly stood up and let out a strange cry. I felt like I'd heard of this town somewhere just now. It's Ethan's hometown. For God's sake, Jarvis, contact Rhodes. Tony, the intelligence department needs to be quicker about this kind of thing. Qin Xiao knew what Tony wanted to do. After the last incident, Tony intended to offer Ethan a job in the United States. But Ethan insisted on returning to his hometown to treat the people there. Tony also promised to come back and build a large hospital for them. Unexpectedly, terrorists came to our door. He still dialed Black Widow's number. Ethan had contact with everyone, although he didn't live with them in the cave day and night like Tony. But they can also be considered comrades who have experienced bullets and gunfire together. So Black Widow was quite efficient, and got the result in less than 20 minutes after hanging up the phone. Tony. I'm so sorry. Ethan's gone. The survivors in the town said they captured Ethan and burned him alive in the house. Qin Xiao hung up the phone and said dejectedly. Where are his family? Tony stared at the bald head on TV. They were all in that house. No one escaped. Advertisement. Chapter 28. Watching TV is just a picture. Some things require you to be there in person to give yourself the most direct and correct feeling. For Tony, it was war, weapons, death, and blood, when God placed all the blood around him. Tony Stark metamorphosed from a playboy to Iron Man. For Qin Xiao, perhaps it is the gaming mentality of traveling through the world. Or maybe he has a God's perspective and knows what will happen, but he doesn't have any special feelings or beliefs about killing and fighting in Afghanistan. But this does not affect his other senses, such as the first time he saw Tony Stark wearing the iron armor. Compared to watching movies, reality has the greatest impact. Watching the auxiliary operating table made by Tony, several metal arms extended at the same time to put armor on each part. Even though Tony hasn't colored it yet, and even though Qin Xiao has seen the incredible nano armor like the Mark 85 in movies. But Qin Xiao was still deeply fascinated by the armor in front of him. The feet, hands, back, joints, each part has a large number of cleverly designed parts that can move independently, revealing the faint blue light of energy inside. This is so FG cool, FK, this is every man's ultimate dream. Qin Xiao shouted excitedly. That's right, this is a man's toy. Sports cars and guns are nothing compared to it. Don't get excited, man. The ultimate dream is still to come. You will scream for what I will do next. Jarvis, start the thrusters. I want to conduct a real flight. Sir, that will require trillions of calculations. Jarvis advised quite dutifully. Jarvis, sometimes you have to run before you can walk, come on. As Tony finished his words, the thrusters under the armor's feet suddenly spurted out red flames. The armor slowly rose from the ground, rising about half a meter. After staying in the air for a few seconds, the armor's palm waved, and flames spewed out from the four nozzles at the same time. Whoosh! Qin Xiao only felt a silver lightning flash directly in front of his eyes, and flew out of the house along the garage passage. Soar into the sky. Ho! 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 Advertisement. Tony's excited voice echoed across the room. Qin, you definitely don't understand what this feeling is, ha ha ha. Wu. Tony laughed arrogantly. Tony, be careful. There is a Huxia saying that goes excessive happiness leads to sorrow. Have you heard of it? Qin Xiao said sourly. Haha. You are jealous, you are definitely jealous. I am Tony Stark. Jarvis, what is the flight altitude record of the State Route 71 reconnaissance plane? Official record, 85,000 feet, sir. Okay, Qin, you witnessed a new flight record today. Tony cheered, and in the night sky of Los Angeles, a streak of fire streaked across the sky, then shot vertically upwards into the sky. Qin Xiao, who is familiar with the plot of the movie, definitely knows what will happen next. He simply pulled over a chair, took a bottle of drink and sat in front of a blue and white antique sports car in the garage. Sure enough, less than 2 minutes later, a loud bang was heard. Tony, wearing armor, smashed through 2 layers of ceiling from the air and directly crushed the sports car in front of Qin Xiao. Well. Qin Xiao heard Tony's resentful sigh from the speakers in the room. Day. Get to work. Spray him. Tony's housework intelligent robotic arm robot slowly turned to Tony's side. He raised the modified mechanical arm and sprayed a large amount of fire-extinguishing spray at the armor lying on the ground. Squeak. I remember that in the original plot, Obadiah once angrily insulted a scientist from Stark Industries. It's said that Tony Stark built a small arc reactor out of a pile of junk in a cave. An entire laboratory of scientists under Obadiah were facing the large prototype in Stark Industries. But I can't even find the direction. In fact, even if it is not technical crushing and genius mind. In terms of manual ability alone, Tony Stark, with his powerful manual ability plus Jarvis and the many robotic arms he made, can be comparable to a large assembly line factory. After being frozen at high altitude last time, it only took 3 days to build a new battle armor. This does not include the fact that placing the order and transporting the materials took a whole day. Advertisement. The familiar gold and red color scheme, the arc reactor that can be used as a laser cannon thruster, and the glowing light on the chest. Qin Xiao was still a little dazed for a moment. There are many superhero characters in the Marvel movie universe. The characters with the most fans are probably Iron Man and Captain America. But if you ask which hero they like to see the most people will say Iron Man. From the bulky Mark I in the cave to the Mark II that needs the help of a robotic arm to put on now. From the portable suitcase-style Mark-V, to the tracking style of Avengers Alliance 1, to the disassembled combination of Iron Man-3. Until the final battle, the extremely shocking nano armor. It seems that every time Iron Man appears, he can bring people a new visual enjoyment. How do I look? The armor was finally completed, and Tony turned around and asked Qin Xiao in a very proud manner. Qin Xiao acted like a fashion designer looking at a model. He touched his chin thoughtfully and nodded. That's pretty good, congratulations, Tony, you look almost as tall as me now. Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and gestured at the heads of both parties. Tony, what happened in Kumala, including Ethan's death, and the large number of Stark Industries weapons still in the hands of terrorists. This made Tony furious. Before dealing with Obadiah, he had to eliminate the terrorists first. He had to do this himself, which was why the armor was created so quickly. But because of Qin Xiao, Tony had to change his idea of fighting alone. Originally, Tony didn't plan to take Qin Xiao with him, because he felt that he was capable enough. The second reason is that he feels that Qin Xiao is no longer his opponent. This thought came to an abrupt end when Qin Xiao kneaded his excess armor material into a ball with his bare hands. As I recall, super soldiers aren't supposed to be that powerful. Facing Tony's question, Qin Xiao turned around in a very pretentious manner, put his hands behind his back, and said with his face up to the sky, looking like a lonely master. I don't know about others, but me. Qin Xiao. It's just that powerful. Advertisement. Chapter 29. Facts have once again proved that after a period of middle school, you will have to pay the price, and the so-called pretense will only last 3 seconds. The two of them suddenly decided to go to the Middle East together to eliminate terrorists. But transportation is a big problem. Tony has a private jet. But his plane is too high profile, so this matter has to be done quietly. A Quinjet? Tony could even build one himself, but time didn't allow. They had to hurry while the terrorists were still looting the town near Kumala. So, Qin Xiao set his sights on S.H.I.E.L.D. again. Tony now demands that his armor be kept secret, so it is naturally impossible for the two of them to go through normal channels. So, 2 dark shadows appeared at the entrance of S.H.I.E.L.D. Los Angeles branch late at night. This is neither a headquarters nor a secret base with important supplies. And it is within the United States, so the security is not strict. With the powerful intelligent security system, there is not even any guard at night. Qin Xiao tiptoed and took out his ID. He whispered confirmation to Tony beside him. Are you sure you can delete the visitor records and surveillance here? This is my work ID. Although I am not afraid of them causing trouble, I don't want to lose my regular salary. It was not until Tony made an OK gesture that Qin Xiao took the ID in his hand and gently pressed it against the sensor on the door. Beep. Insufficient authority. A few red lights flashed on the sensor, and an electronic sound rang out softly. How is that possible? Qin Xiao tried twice without giving up, but it still showed insufficient permissions. Let me. Tony took Qin Xiao's ID and said, Intern agent, okay, cute little rookie, let me try. Beep. Tony sighed, handed the ID to Qin Xiao and asked. Have you been here before? Advertisement no. Qin Xiao shook his head in confusion. I got the location of this place from Natasha Romanoff. Congratulations, you found a good job. Tony looked at Qin Xiao with contempt. The arm of the armor opened, and Tony took out a card connected to the wire and stuck it on. Luckily I'm prepared, Jarvis. Let this mysterious intelligence department that interns can't enter see how powerful we are. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Washington headquarters may have elementary level intelligence that can be comparable to Jarvis, but the branch here, haha. Qin Xiao greeted Nick Fury's ancestors. In less than 10 seconds, Jarvis broke through the door. Moreover, he directly controlled this inconspicuous small building on the outskirts of Los Angeles through the network of the access control system. In order to enable agents to move quickly during missions, each S.H.I.E.L.D. branch is equipped with a Quinjet. Tony and Qin Xiao were very lucky today, no one here used it to carry out missions. He sneaked all the way from the fire escape to the rooftop. 2 minutes later, a Quinjet soared into the sky and headed straight for Tony's home in Malibu Beach. After changing into their armor, the two flew across the Pacific Ocean towards the Middle East. Did you know? During World War II, my father flew a plane with Captain America through the enemy-occupied area and directly arrived at the enemy's rear to complete a rescue operation. I never thought that now, I would also be flying a plane with another super soldier to fight terrorists. But my father was just a pilot, I'm different this time, I have this. Tony tapped his suit. Tony, you actually have many ways to fight these terrorists. If you intended to build the armor in Afghanistan in order to escape, then why now? Is it to eradicate the 10 rings? Tony was silent for a while before he spoke slowly. My father used to tell me that if you want peace, you must hold the strongest stick. This is my philosophy for making weapons, but ever since the missile with the last name Stark engraved on it exploded next to me in Afghanistan. Ah, Tony sighed softly. I thought the weapons I made brought peace to the world, but I didn't know how many people the name Stark brought despair to. Before the missile exploded, I was lying there, and I could see every letter of Stark clearly. Advertisement, but I can't see the significance of it. I only see despair. I can't even imagine what someone would think if they were in the same desperate situation as me and saw the name Stark. Qin Xiao was a little confused by Tony's words. Although others didn't know, he knew that what Tony said was right. Not to mention others, Scarlet Witch, who will be a member of Avengers in the future, and his twin brother Quicksilver. Just looked at a missile with Stark written on it for 12 hours. I was just a guy who made sticks, and now I make one of the biggest sticks in the world. Tony pointed to the armor on his body. I will hold it firmly in my own hands. This is the meaning of my existence in the future. I will only do this one thing in my life: fight against terrorists, eliminate wars, and create peace. It has nothing to do with the country and politics. In a sense, the early Iron Man and Black Widow were both atoning for their past selves. Until the later stages of the Avengers Alliance, this forgiveness will slowly turn into a sense of responsibility. Especially after the Battle of New York, when the Avengers took on the responsibility of ensuring the safety of the world. Then metamorphosis begins slowly. Tony, do you know why Nick Fury forced me to join the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency? Damn it, curse this name. It's because he has a plan, the Avengers plan, to form a team whose members have extraordinary abilities and who will stand up when the world needs them. Qin Xiao looked straight at Tony after he finished speaking. Good idea. I don't know Nick Fury, but I know that whether it's the CIA, the KGB, or the MI5, no matter what their original intention was, in the end, they all became political tools, more or less. If someone needs to stand up somewhere, I will be there in armor, but I don't want to be a sword in someone else's hand. Iron Man agrees with the Avengers plan, but disagrees with S.H.I.E.L.D. That's right. Tony. That's what I mean. We don't want to be the stick in someone else's hand, we hold the stick ourselves. Qin Xiao turned and said to Tony Stark. This time Tony lowered his head and licked it for a long time. He suddenly looked up and said to Qin Xiao. Like today? Yes. Just like today. Chapter 3 Evening. Advertisement. Chapter 30. Outside the small town of Kumala, a large number of newly built cemeteries are densely packed. This is a group of mausoleums built collectively by the survivors of the town for their lost relatives and friends. It was a densely packed area, with a simple hole dug and a wooden board inserted. There are not many people left in the entire town, and many lucky young people have chosen to leave this unfortunate place. The only people left behind were the elderly and some poor people who had lost their families and had nothing. They often came here before, looting some things and taking away some people with skills they needed, but never like this, a massacre. They said Ethan helped you escape. This is a challenge to their authority. The person who spoke was one of the few young people Qin Xiao and Tony found in the town. Along the way, he led Qin Xiao and Tony towards Ethan's tomb. The words that came out of his mouth made Tony even more silent. Why don't you leave? I mean, if you want to get out of here, I can help. Tony asked after being silent for a long time. This is my home, sir. My parents and sister are buried here. I want to stay with them. A trace of sadness flashed in the young man's eyes. This was his only home and he had nowhere else to go. This is Ethan's grave. He was a good doctor who helped many of us. We built the biggest tombstone for him. The young man took Qin Xiao and Tony to a cemetery outside the town. I'm sorry, man. I should have thought of it earlier, I should have noticed this, but I swear to you, those people will never hurt innocent people around them again. Tony said as he took out a cheeseburger and placed it on the grave next to Ethan, his child. Before coming back, Ethan went back to Los Angeles with Tony. The first thing Tony did when he returned to the United States was to eat a cheeseburger. Ethan said while eating a burger that his children also liked it very much, but unfortunately they didn't have the opportunity to eat it often in Kumala. This scene made Qin Xiao feel somewhat moved. Tony Stark looks foul-mouthed and arrogant. But he always silently kept everyone's needs in his heart. Happy's favorite TV series, when Rod was injured, he installed a parachute on the little Spider-Man's armor, etc. Even when Qin Xiao visited him recently, he noticed that in order to decorate Qin Xiao's new home, he was saying words of contempt for Qin Xiao on the surface, but secretly he was changing the code of an intelligent program. Advertisement. A large amount of Huxia text was also thoughtfully added to make Qin Xiao's use more comfortable and convenient. Yukata is a small town about 50 kilometers away from Kumala. This place has recently become another place for the Ten Rings terrorists led by Baldhead to plunder. Definitely. This is also what the young man who led the way told Qin Xiao and Tony. Sir. Can I go with you? Give me a weapon, I want to avenge my family and friends. The young man said to Qin Xiao and Tony before sending them on the plane. Stay here, take care of the elderly, and make your hometown back to what it used to be. Qin Xiao patted the young man on the shoulder and left Ethan's hometown with Tony. In previous news footage, reporters described the path to Kumala as the road to hell. And now, this title is obviously going to be given to Yukata. The roads outside the town were littered with the bodies of locals. Most of them were shot in the back, probably because they were used as living targets by the terrorists and shot from behind while they were escaping. There are not only young people and women here, but also many children in their teens. The worst off was a little girl who looked about 5 or 6 years old. The powerful force of the rifle tore her thigh apart. She fell to the ground and looked into the distance, her eyes full of fear. The bloody wound on the thigh had begun to turn white. Behind him was a long, irregular blood-red line. Qin Xiao could even imagine the scene in her mind, perhaps her parents had been shot dead in the town. Before he died, he told her to run, but the terrorist shot him in the thigh from behind, breaking it. So the little girl dragged one of her remaining limbs and crawled on the ground for a long time before she died of excessive blood loss. I don't know what your faith is, but I think heaven is universal. You will see your parents there, and there will be no more misfortunes. Qin Xiao squatted down, reached out, and gently closed the little girl's eyes. The little girl closed her eyes forever, but this scene has been engraved in Qin Xiao's mind. Can't get rid of it. Advertisement in the small town, sporadic gunshots and cries for help were heard. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other. Tony closed the mask of his armor, and Qin Xiao pushed hard on the ground. One above and one below, 2 figures rushed into the town like lightning. On the small road leading out of the town, a child of about 13 or 14 was stumbling and running away from the town. His father, a man who had been shot in the thigh, dragged one leg and ran hard behind the boy. And she kept shouting at the boy to run faster and faster. More than 10 meters behind them, a terrorist was holding a rifle. He took a standard aiming posture, with the crosshairs aimed at his father's other thigh in front of him. Breaking this leg and then shooting the little boy in front to death, letting the man die in despair in the double pain of mental and physical pain, this is the pleasure he has just found recently. The massacre in Kumala completely released the demons in the hearts of these terrorists. The methods used in recent days have become increasingly bloody and cruel. He locked onto the father's thigh, a smile on his face. His finger was about to pull the trigger. Whoosh! A micro-missile shot out from the sky and blew the terrorist into pieces. A golden red figure flashed across the sky. At this moment, another terrorist in the house next door heard the explosion and came out. She also held some women's accessories such as earrings and bracelets in her hands. He glanced at the explosion site on the ground in confusion, before he had time to figure out what had happened. On the small road made of loess, a figure wrapped in dust rushed in from outside like a dragon. The terrorist didn't even have time to raise his gun. Qin Xiao punched him in the face with all his strength. A full-strength punch. The whole head exploded like a watermelon hit by a sledgehammer. Brain matter and blood sprayed all over Qin Xiao's face. Advertisement. Chapter 31. Anyone familiar with Marvel movies knows that Hulk's setting has been weakened countless times compared to the comics. But the fact that the angrier you are, the stronger you are is a hidden setting in the movie. It's just that the difference between the maximum and minimum values is not that huge. The improved version of the Hulk serum given by the system is the maximum value of 30%. That's a pretty scary number. So Qin Xiao attacked with all his strength and hatred, and with one punch he smashed a terrorist's head into an exploding watermelon. Blood mixed with brain matter covered Qin Xiao's entire face. In response, Qin Xiao just casually reached out and rubbed his face as if wiping sweat. Then he showed a smile uglier than a devil, revealing a few big white teeth. Get ready to go to hell from now on, scumbags. These words sounded the prelude to the killing. In the middle of the town, most of the terrorists and townspeople gathered here. Tony's armor had the advantage of being in the air, and he had already seen the large group of people in the middle. It flew straight to the center. Qin Xiao began to clear out the scattered terrorists along the streets and alleys. An off-road vehicle was parked in front of the only bar in the town. 3 terrorists were carrying boxes of various types of alcohol from the bar. The owner of the bar, a middle-aged bearded man, was lying on the floor of the bar with a bullet hole on his forehead. His wife was clinging to the thigh of one of the terrorists, screaming in anger. This terrorist still had some humanity and did not attack the woman immediately. He swung his thighs a few times but failed to shake off the woman. He raised the butt of the gun and smashed it hard on the woman's head. Bang, 1 time. Bang. Twice. There was a trace of blood at the corner of the woman's mouth, but her hands were like knotted, holding his thighs motionlessly and refusing to let go. The terrorist finally lost his patience and turned his gun around, intending to shoot the woman. FKU. A roar, a typical Huxia curse. It doesn't matter whether the terrorists can understand or not. Advertisement. Along with this angry curse, a fist suddenly appeared on the terrorist's chest. The angry Qin Xiao didn't even take out his tang sword. His punch not only shattered the spine, but also broke through the chest, directly piercing through him. Bang! The other 2 terrorists were carrying a wine barrel when a piece of internal organs with a strong smell of blood hit one of them in the face. Crash! The wine barrel fell to the ground, spilling the wine all over the ground, and the 2 terrorists were still unable to react. Qin Xiao had already flashed in front of the 2 men, looking at the 2 men who were still lifting things face to face. With both hands, one of them grabbed the back of the other's head, pulling it tightly along with the hair and scarf. At the same time, exert force towards the middle. The 2 terrorists' faces collided with incredible force. Bones broke and flesh was squeezed and integrated into each other. The 2 heads were collided into one by Qin Xiao. Countless pieces of broken bones and flesh crashed into the opponent's brain, and it was obvious that he was dead. In the end, the 2 of them formed an inverted V shape and fell to the ground like a conjoined twin. It was such a bloody and violent scene, with blood dripping from the corner of the mouth of the middle-aged woman who was lying on the ground and hit by the butt of a gun. There was not a trace of panic. Instead, he picked up the rifle on the ground and pointed it at the terrorist who was hit in the chest by Qin Xiao's punch. Pull the trigger. Da-da-da. Bullets filled with anger and hatred were vented freely, although most of them were pushed to unknown places by the recoil. But several bullets hit the man's head accurately. The head was hit so hard that it was a bloody mess. After venting her anger, the woman sat down on the ground and stared blankly at her husband's body. Qin Xiao sighed, without saying anything to comfort him, and once again rolled up a dragon of earth on the street, rushing towards somewhere else. If you look down from the sky, Qin Xiao is like a greedy snake in the entire town of Yukata. They ran quickly in the streets, and when they met terrorists, they used the most direct physical confrontation to kill them, leaving them in a bloody mess. The town is not big, and Qin Xiao is so efficient. 10 or 20 minutes was enough for him to plow the entire town. At this time in the center of the town, Tony had just killed all the terrorists. I was just about to say a few words to comfort those frightened people. At the moment, Qin Xiao slowly walked out from the corner of the street. Advertisement. The clothes on his body were transformed from combat uniforms produced by the system, and there was not a trace of blood on them. But the part of Qin Xiao that was exposed. On the face, head, neck, and even hands. The blood mixed with dust and flesh, as if covered with a thick layer of dark red mud. Especially the hair, which was dripping with sticky blood. There was also a piece of broken bone hanging on it, which came from some unfortunate person's body. He looked like a demon that had crawled out of hell. Some timid children and women couldn't help but scream when they saw Qin Xiao's horrible appearance. Qin Xiao stopped walking awkwardly, grinning a smile uglier than a ghost. He showed his big white teeth and said to Tony, "I've got it. There should be a base nearby. Let's go there again." Tony could see that Qin Xiao's emotions were even more out of control than his own. But this is not a good time to provide psychological counseling. He nodded slightly, turned around and led the way to fly out of the town. Just flew a few hundred meters away. Boom! A cannon shot. The remaining terrorists drove a tank from somewhere. Directly knocked Tony out in mid-air. Ordinary tank fire can't hurt Iron Man's armor at all. Tony sat up and shook his head, preparing to leap into the air and deliver an armor-piercing bullet to the tank. What he saw was that Qin Xiao jumped directly onto the tank from hundreds of meters away. He bent down and inserted his hands directly into the connection between the turret and the tank body. Ah! With a roar, Qin Xiao actually lifted the entire turret off the tank. Not to mention the terrorists in the tank, even Tony was stunned in mid-air. He kept his eyes on the tank's armor, estimating how many hits Qin Xiao could withstand based on the thickness and defense of his armor. Qin Xiao opened the turret and threw it casually, with the gun barrel just lying across the tank. He hugged the gun barrel with both hands and then jumped directly off the tank. Then he swung the gun towards the tank. The gun barrel with the turret looks like a strangely shaped hammer. Aimed at the tank's body. Bang! 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 Advertisement. Chapter 32. Tony watched helplessly as the tank was violently smashed into thin iron sheets by Qin Xiao. As for what happened to the people inside, Tony had no interest in taking a look. It's just that Qin Xiao's performance today. Qin, do your clothes have an automatic dry cleaning function? Oh, for God's sake, you should go clean yourself up on the plane first. You look like you just got thrown into King Kong's anus. Tony didn't ask directly, but made a roundabout way of joking. The mysterious East always has something mysterious. Qin Xiao planned to keep the matter of the clothes a secret. After all, it would be impossible to keep it secret for too long. Right in front of Tony, he changed his jeans and t-shirt into a slim-fitting casual suit. Besides, Qin Xiao pointed at himself. This is a man's battle, it's better than hiding in a tin condom. Qin Xiao patted Tony's shoulder playfully and said, "Your dress is like a condom that changes shape." Tony felt relieved that Qin Xiao could still make a joke and muttered something with his head down. Then he jumped up as if he was on fire. "Oh, damn! Why did you tap my shoulder? God knows what you have in your hand. Jarvis! Go back and remind me to disinfect the armor thoroughly." "Yes, sir." The bald guy from 10 Rings was swept away again by Tony Stark and Qin Xiao at the base nearby. All the ordnance personnel were destroyed again. The bald man in a camp far away on the other side of the desert was almost angry to death by the news. It's all Obadiah's fault. God knows how much trouble this Tony Stark has brought upon himself. Although Tony was wearing armor, he still recognized the arc reactor on his chest at a glance from the video sent by his subordinates. Damn it! The bald man slammed the table in front of him hard. It was only when he talked with Obadiah afterwards that he realized the value of the arc reactor. Having a gold mine but asking others to develop missiles is a typical case of suffering from lack of culture. Advertisement. He angrily smashed a few things on the table to vent his emotions. The bald man pointed to a heavy breastplate piled in the corner of the room and said to his men, "Take a picture of the stuff Tony Stark made and send it to Obadiah along with this video. He knows the value of this stuff, and ask him to send us some more munitions. The loss this time must be his responsibility." The breastplate in the corner was exactly the Mark I that Tony had not yet completed. When Qin Xiao came to rescue him, he only had time to bring out the blueprint. A small part of the first generation of armor had been built, but there was no time to take it out. Anyway, Tony felt that these terrorists might not be able to figure out anything, and the original was not a complete product and there were no blueprints. But he could not have imagined that this thing would eventually fall into Obadiah's hands. The forces in the Middle East are complex, and even for S.H.I.E.L.D., its intelligence capabilities here will be greatly reduced. Under normal circumstances, what Tony and Qin Xiao did here would be discovered by Nick Fury sooner or later. But you have to know that S.H.I.E.L.D. now has people to conduct comprehensive surveillance on Obadiah. So, when Obadiah received the video sent by 10 Rings, Nick Fury also saw this video. This is... He could recognize Qin Xiao, but was the other one a robot? Nick Fury was shocked by Tony's armor and Qin Xiao's fighting ability. But he soon reacted. The reactor on the chest is so iconic. This is Tony Stark. Should I say he is truly a genius at developing weapons? This allows the small arc reactor to maximize its war value. It's a genius idea. Nick Fury subconsciously wanted to call Phil Coulson and ask him to contact Tony Stark. But after thinking about it, he dialed Qin Xiao's number. "Oh, my dear director, my boss, you finally remembered that you have an intern agent like me." Qin Xiao and Tony are still on the plane back home. Nick Fury simply ignored the practice that Qin Xiao had deliberately emphasized. He said it more sarcastically. "I almost forgot. I should have given you a spot as a level 8 agent. After all, you were able to face terrorists head-on in the Middle East. Oh, you even blew up a tank. You're such an excellent guy. I should have let you join the action team. So are you going to come back now and report to your boss about the situation in the Middle East and the iron-clad man next to you? I guess he is your good friend Tony Stark, right?" Advertisement. The last sentence is the key point. Qin Xiao chuckled. Boss, are you dreaming? The Middle East, the Tin Man, or a new movie? Qin Xiao still spoke in a frivolous manner. Damn it! Stop playing dumb with me. You are my agent. The extra large amount of dollars in your bank account every month is because of my signature. Do you understand? Nick Fury angrily crushed the pen in his hand. I definitely know that I'm your agent, an intern agent, and I can't even get into the branch office with my work ID. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and ignored Nick Fury's anger. Wow! As soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, Tony flicked his finger on his forehead. What are you doing? Qin Xiao made a silent lip movement. Tony looked at Qin Xiao as if he were an idiot, and made a gesture with his work ID card to swipe and open the door. He pointed to the aircraft's instruments again. Qin Xiao understood what he meant instantly. That matter could not be told because the plane was stolen. What are you doing? Hearing Qin Xiao's unexpected cry, Nick Fury asked. I'm sailing with Tony. You know, there are many young and cute girls on the boat. Just now, a hot blonde girl suddenly kissed me. Damn, is it my fault that I'm handsome? My dear boss, in this case, if I just shoot, is it self-defense? Qin. Tony heard Nick Fury's angry shout clearly from the side. Stop making up stories for me. I want you to come to Washington to see me right away. And you just mentioned your work permit, damn BD. I know why a plane was stolen for no reason. It's a Quinjet in the Middle East. I know. Come to Washington to see me right away, right away. Facing Nick Fury's roar, Qin Xiao directly turned on the speakerphone of his mobile phone, looked at his left hand, and found a finger with longer nails. He aimed at the microphone of the mobile phone and began to scratch it gently. What? What did you say? Oh. This is a damn signal, for God's sake, I'm on the phone with my boss. Hello? Hello? Qin Xiao said this and hung up the phone. Bang! Nick Fury smashed his phone on the table. Advertisement. Chapter 33. There are not many people who can block S.H.I.E.L.D's tracking, but Tony Stark is definitely one of them. Especially if the plane was stolen. The two of them sneaked all the way back to Tony's mansion. Qin Xiao just experienced the smart luxury bathtub at Tony's house. Phil Coulson stood at the door of Tony's house with his touching hairline and honest face. Sir, the agent from the intelligence agency with the long and stinky name is here to visit. Jarvis imitated Tony's tone of humor. Phil Coulson didn't seem angry at all. He greeted the two of them with a smile, then opened a video on his mobile phone and placed it in front of them. It was a video clip of the two men displaying their prowess in the Middle East. Anything you want to say? Phil Coulson looked at the two of them seriously. You should go to the cinema to watch movies. The pirated quality you see is disgusting. You can try my private viewing room. You will love it. By the way, what is the name of this movie? Tony's answer was more serious. Phil Coulson sighed helplessly. Don't you think the thing on the Tin Man's chest looks a lot like the thing on your chest? Are you kidding me? This is an arc reactor. That thing obviously has an LED light on its chest. Seeing Tony's reaction, Phil Coulson had no choice but to turn his head and look at Qin Xiao. He pointed at Qin Xiao who was swinging the tank barrel to smash the car body in the picture. Qin, do you have anything to say? This guy is so ugly, is he your friend? He is so disgusting, is that feces on his face? As soon as Qin Xiao opened his mouth, Phil Coulson was so angry that he almost pulled his hair out. It was obvious that Qin Xiao's shamelessness was definitely beyond Phil Coulson's imagination. Even Tony next to him almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Well. Phil Coulson sighed deeply again. He finally understood why Nick Fury even smashed his cell phone. I took several deep breaths and calmed myself down. Phil Coulson said with a serious face. This video was sent to Obadiah from the Middle East. We intercepted the video. I am here to tell Stark that I will give you a week to deal with your company's affairs. After a week, my people will take action. Advertisement. Seeing Tony finally nodded seriously, Phil Coulson stood up and turned to leave. If he stayed any longer, he was afraid that all the hair on his head would fall out. That's right. Phil Coulson, who was at the door, suddenly came back. Our branch lost a Quinjet. Qin, you are our agent. Do you have any news? Qin Xiao smiled mysteriously. I'm just an intern agent, but are you looking for something? Let me show you one of the greatest metaphysics in Daxia, fortune-telling. You can understand it as divination. Qin Xiao stretched out his right hand and tapped his thumb with his four fingers in quick succession. He even kept muttering to himself, rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon. You little slob, you're really slob. Fahey. You don't know how to love. Tais Hang Lejun, hurry up and give the order. Hey. A smile appeared on Qin Xiao's face. Even Phil Coulson and Tony knew that this guy was just talking nonsense. I am still impressed by this magical performance. Tony was extremely cooperative and asked with an expectant look on his face. How is it? Did the divination succeed? Where is the plane? It's not that easy. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes. There's only one step left. Qian kun kan dui li zhen suan zhen. The 8 trigrams are spread out in all directions, and the ST is looking for directions. Go! Qin Xiao shouted loudly, took off his shoes and threw them into the air. All right. Send someone to follow the direction of the shoes. They should be near the beach not far away. Phil Coulson put his hand on his forehead, looking hopeless. Thank you so much, Agent Qin Xiao. We found the plane. I will report this incident and remember your contribution. It doesn't matter. Qin Xiao waved his hand indifferently. Just give me a little bonus next month. It doesn't have to be too much. Just 5% of the price of the plane will be fine. Phil Coulson coughed and felt the blood rushing up in his chest. Without saying a word, he turned around and left. Don't go, we can negotiate, 3% is fine, if that doesn't work, 1% is fine, just a token of your appreciation, hey. Advertisement. Phil Coulson, who was far away, heard Qin Xiao's words from behind him, tripped, staggered and almost fell to the ground. How stingy! Qin Xiao was still muttering behind. Qin Xiao reached some kind of consensus with Tony on the plane. Set up a separate organization outside of all official departments. However, this matter needs to be carried out slowly. Firstly, there are only 2 of us now, so there is no need. Secondly, the biggest thing for Tony right now should be the matter of Obadiah. The next morning, Tony went directly to the company, which was rare. Without meeting anyone, he went straight to his office, poured 2 glasses of wine and waited quietly. He knew that as soon as he came to the company, Obadiah would definitely show up. Sure enough, before even 10 minutes had passed, Obadiah had already appeared at the door of the office. Oh, look who this is. Our Tony Stark finally remembered that he has a company. What have you been busy with recently? My chairman. Obadiah walked straight over to sit next to Tony. Seeing the 2 glasses of wine that Tony had already poured, he was slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, You always have good wine here, don't you? Obadiah picked up the cup and took a sip, then tapped the table lightly and spoke. Tony, the outside world now sees us as a joke. The largest weapons company has stopped making weapons. The shareholders are already very dissatisfied with you. You need to do something to regain the confidence of the shareholders. Didn't you say you wanted to do renewable energy? I'll help you convince the shareholders, but you need to come up with something, like the miniature reactor in your chest. Unlike in the movies, this time Tony escaped purely because of Qin Xiao's rescue. Instead of relying on the original armor of Mark I. No one thought about it this way. After all, Tony had never released the data of the reactor in his chest. Even Obadiah hadn't thought about it until he saw the video sent by 10 Rings yesterday. Obadiah summoned his scientists overnight. The manufacture of armor is very simple, it is nothing more than materials and weapons. The most troublesome thing is the power source. The arc reactor on Tony's chest looks simple. However, dozens of experts under Obadiah held a meeting for an entire night, but they could not even come up with a research direction. I saw the video they sent you. I was tied to a chair. I think we should have a good talk, dear Uncle Obadiah. Tony looked up and spoke slowly. For a new book, the data before 100,000 words is very important. Dear readers, please move your little fingers, add it to your bookshelf, give it a 5-star rating, and it would be even better if you could click on the reminder and watch a video. Love you. Advertisement. Chapter 34. As Tony spoke, he opened his mobile phone and played the video directly. Seeing that Tony Stark already knew everything he did, Obadiah's eyes suddenly became sharp, no longer the warm look that contained admiration and doting for the younger generation. Now that you know everything, what do you want to do? Humiliate me, take away everything I have, or find someone to arrest me. Call. Tony stared at Obadiah's unfamiliar eyes without blinking. He exhaled heavily. The whole world says I'm a genius, but it took me decades to truly see what you look like today. How come you have been wearing that mask of kindness towards me for decades? I deserve this, Tony Stark. I turned the company into one of the largest companies in the world. I run the company day in and day out, and you're just hiding in your ridiculous lab making a few missiles. The most ridiculous thing is that you, a weapons businessman, actually announced that you would no longer manufacture weapons. I've had enough of your willful behavior and nonsense. You are as childish as a baby in an ivory tower. The rules of this world don't work that way. Tony, this company should be in my hands. Obadiah slammed the table and roared, but all the while he was talking he secretly reached into his trouser pocket. In that pocket, there's a tiny ultrasonic transmitter. It can quickly paralyze a person, and correspondingly, there is a pair of headphones in the pocket that can resist ultrasound. That's it, Obadiah. Hand over your position on the board of directors and management rights in the company. I will buy out your shares at a price 50% higher than the market price. Find a place to spend your old age in peace, Obadiah, or the next time someone comes looking for you they'll be armed with pistols and handcuffs. You have 5 days. This is my last respect for you, Uncle Obadiah. Facing the slightly hysterical Obadiah, Tony didn't want to say anything more. He said this coldly and turned away. But Tony's last words made Obadiah slowly loosen his hand that was in his trouser pocket. 5 days were enough for him to complete a set of armor. As for energy, doesn't Tony Stark have one in his chest? Obadiah seemed to have aged 10 years overnight. But they were extremely cooperative with the people Tony sent out. The company's various businesses, piles of information and documents. All of them are explained to people in great detail and with great care. Advertisement. It really feels like handing over the child you raised to someone else's hands. He patiently told the child what food taboos he should eat, what he likes and so on. This is a normal expression of emotion for Obadiah, who has worked in this company for half his life. This performance even made Tony Stark let down his guard. Face the report of your own team. Tony just said it calmly. Let him do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter if he takes it slow. Just make sure he signs everything in 5 days. In this way, Obadiah pretended to cooperate with the handover of management rights in the company every day, and talked about the company's history and the purpose of each project and so on. Tony's people pressed down on the documents in the office. However, privately, control over factories and laboratories has not been relaxed at all. In the area he named Area 16, a steel behemoth is gradually taking shape. Inside Marbury's mansion, Tony sat on the sofa and called Pepper. All the documents have been prepared. All we need is for Obadiah to formally resign at tomorrow's board meeting and sign the equity transfer agreement. Okay, please attend tomorrow's board meeting for me. I'll have Happy pick you up tomorrow morning. Tony didn't want to go to the company to face Obadiah's departure. Okay. But you don't have to pick me up. I'm staying at the company today. You don't know how busy I have been lately and I don't even have time to sleep. You should give me a raise, boss. Pepper understood Tony's thoughts very well, agreed to his request, and even played a joke on Tony. After hanging up the phone, Tony seemed a little lost. Sir, Mr. Obadiah Stanislav is at the door and he wants to see you. Under Qin Xiao's strong suggestion and the impact of the massacre scenes of terrorists in the Middle East, Tony closed Obadiah's access to his home. So Obadiah, who always had direct access to Tony's mansion, was now standing at the gate and began to pass on a message to Jarvis. Tony picked up a remote from the table and pressed a button. An image of Obadiah standing in the doorway was beamed in. Tony. Open the door. I'm leaving tomorrow. I bought an island in the Indian Ocean. Don't you even give me a chance to say goodbye. Obadiah no longer had the vigor and vitality he once had, and his usually sturdy figure now even looked a little bleak. There was sincerity in his eyes when he spoke. Advertisement call. Tony rubbed his face with some hesitation. Jarvis, let him in. In the end, Tony couldn't bear to refuse Obadiah who was standing at the door. Tony. I'm so sorry. I mean, I've been thinking about it carefully these past few days. I came here today just to say sorry to you and say goodbye. Obadiah walked slowly inside. How's the scenery on that island? Tony didn't stand up, still sitting on the sofa and spoke slowly. It's heaven there. To be honest, I should have done this a long time ago. Some things can only make you feel relaxed when you let them go. Only then will you know what you need most in life. Sunshine, wine, cigars, fishing, and the indispensable girls, isn't it? Obadiah looked as if he had seen through everything and finally let it go. Congratulations, Obadiah. Tony was really happy for him from the bottom of his heart. He looked up and said sincerely. But just by looking up, he discovered that something was wrong with Obadiah. He had an earphone in each ear. Oops. This thought just popped into Tony's mind. A piercing sound came from Obadiah. Almost instantly, the veins on Tony's body were exposed and he fell into a state of paralysis. Unable to move. The ultrasonic transmitter can paralyze a person instantly. It was invented by him. Later, the government stepped in to terminate the project. I didn't expect Obadiah still had one in his hand. You do need to congratulate me because I'm about to become one of the most powerful people in the world. Obadiah changed from his previous decadence and showed his fierce side. Advertisement. Chapter 35. I have to thank those greedy terrorists. They didn't listen to me and killed you directly. I thought you, the goose that lays golden eggs, were no longer valuable. I didn't expect you to surprise me, Tony. You laid the biggest golden egg of your life. As Obadiah spoke, he pulled out a magnetic adsorber the same size as the reactor in Tony's chest. You are truly a genius, Tony, this thing will change the world. Obadiah pressed the button hard, and the arc reactor was slowly pulled up. It's so beautiful. It's simply a work of art. A perfect work of art. Do you know? For this work of art, I specially built a battle armor that is more powerful than your new toy. Obadiah admired the reactor in his hand. Gave Tony a look of disdain. You haven't grown at all since you were 21 years old, and you actually believe that I will hand over the company to you. Obadiah waved his hand and slapped Tony. Want to buy out my shares at a price 50% higher than the market price? Drive me out of my kingdom? Enjoy the last few minutes of your life, Tony. You won't feel lonely. Pepper will be down to keep you company soon. She's such a good woman, isn't she? Obadiah left laughing. Tony collapsed on the sofa, stiffening his neck and trying to move, but he couldn't even speak. The clock on the wall ticked 193 times, and Tony breathed a sigh of relief. Jarvis, call Qin and have him get to Stark Industries immediately, Pepper is in danger. After instructing Jarvis, Tony staggered towards the basement. While holding the phone, he quickly dialed Xiao Leijiao's number. I don't know why, but no one answered Xiao Leijiao's phone. He rolled and crawled all the way down the long stairs. After finally reaching his workbench, he tried his best but couldn't reach the first-generation micro-arc reactor that had been repackaged by Pepper. Ah! Tony let out a hoarse growl. Having lost the arc reactor, could he even feel the shrapnel blocking his blood vessels? For no reason. Even breathing became difficult. I hope Qin can get to the company and rescue Pepper. He should be fine. Tony's mind began to blur, and he was about to give up. An intelligent robot with metal arms that is often ridiculed for its clumsy behavior. It seemed to sense its owner's plight. Advertisement. It actually slowly drove over from a distance. Then he swung his metal arm and swept the arc reactor off the table. The glass cover shattered the instant it hit the ground. Tony suddenly gathered all his strength, picked up the arc reactor and stuffed it directly into his chest. Oh! Good boy! He took a deep breath and praised the metal arm. I finally recovered and had a feeling of surviving a disaster. Jarvis, have you contacted Qin yet? I'm sorry, sir, Mr. Qin didn't answer the phone. No time, Pepper. The importance of Pepper Potts to Tony is self-evident. After recovering, Tony quickly put on his armor and asked Jarvis to call Pepper Potts continuously. Fortunately, just as he was flying towards the company, Pepper answered the phone. Tony. Pepper had just finished her work when she noticed that her phone, which was on silent mode and placed on the sofa, was full of missed calls from Tony Stark. Pepper, thank God you finally called back. If you are still in the company, leave now. Obadiah stole my reactor and secretly built a battle armor. Oh, God! Are you okay? Tony, I mean, what are you going to do without the reactor? Like Tony, Pepper is also concerned about the other person's safety at the first moment. I'm fine, thanks to the Stark heart you gave me, I'm fine, I'll rush to the company right now, you leave right now, right now. Oh well. When Pepper learned that Tony was safe and sound, she immediately stood up and ran towards the elevator. It's a pity that little Pepper had just run to the company's door. The asphalt and cement blocks on the ground surged. A steel giant more than 3 meters tall broke through the ground and drilled out from the secret research base underground. OMG! Little Pepper took a few steps back and looked at Iron Overlord in surprise. Pepper! It's great that you're here. I'll take you to meet Tony now. Obadiah manipulated Ironmonger to raise his iron right arm. If Qin Xiao were here now, he would definitely marvel at the magic of fate. Because even his arrival changed a lot of things. Even the birth of the iron armor was 2 months earlier than before. Advertisement, but some of the plots are still the same as what happened in the original movie. It was as if it had been set in advance. The same is true at this moment. Just when Pepper was about to be beaten into a sieve by the Gatling gun on Iron Man's right arm, Tony descended from the sky in his battle armor. Whoosh! The power acceleration hit Ironmonger directly on the head, and broke through the wall with Ironmonger. They rolled together onto the busy street outside. 2 steel figures, one large and one small, directly broke through the compartment of a large van on the road. They both rolled to the middle of the road. The huge monster suddenly appeared and blocked one lane. Nearby vehicles made sharp turns and changed lanes due to the sudden change. I don't know how many vehicles around collided with each other. Some vehicles behind didn't know what was happening in front and honked their horns frantically. Another car changed lanes quickly, avoiding Ironmonger and Iron Man who were blocking the road. But the car behind was not so lucky. It was driving at high speed when the vehicle in front suddenly turned. After turning, the driver saw that there was an extremely huge steel giant lying across the front. In a panic, I subconsciously stepped on the brakes. It stopped in front of Ironmonger just before the collision. I didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. Obadiah controlled Iron Overlord to crawl up from the ground. Looking at the station wagon in front of him, he picked up the vehicle. Amid the screams of the driver in the car, he simply raised the car high up as if it were a weapon. Concentrate all your energy on your chest. Tony glanced at the people in the car and said something quickly. The reactor on his chest suddenly lit up. A laser cannon thicker than the palm of a hand shot out fiercely. He knocked Iron Overlord over several times. Then Tony held out his hands. Mark II steadily caught the vehicle that was about to land. Advertisement. Chapter 36. As soon as he put the car on the ground and let him drive away to escape, Obadiah picked up a speeding motorcycle. No matter whether the unlucky rider on the bike will fall to his death or not. Tony was hit by a motorcycle and directly knocked over a bus in the next lane. Without waiting for Tony to get up from the ground, Ironmonger made a heavy jump and stepped directly on Mark II. Not content with just stepping on him once, he raised his right foot and stomped on him twice. Do you feel the difference in our strength? Tony. Oh my god! I love this armor. While speaking, he grabbed Tony and threw him towards a bus nearby. The bus compartment was as fragile as thin iron sheet and was almost broken into 2 pieces. Fortunately, when they started to act just now, the bus stopped immediately and all the passengers ran away. Otherwise, who knows how many people would be killed by this one blow. Tony knew that there were a lot of people here, and if a fight broke out here, he didn't know how many people would be implicated. After getting up, he didn't wait for Obadiah to attack again, but used all his energy on power. 4 flames spurted out from the jets at the hands and feet, carrying the Mark II directly into the sky. Tony, it looks like you've made some improvements to your suit, but unfortunately, I've made quite a few changes to mine as well. Following Obadiah's voice, 2 beams of fire with billowing smoke burst out from under Iron Overlord's feet, pushing Iron Overlord slowly into the air. In terms of speed, the Ironmonger is definitely no match for the Mark II. But Ironmonger's reactor is new, while the one on Tony's is not only old, but also has little energy left. As both sides rose higher and higher in the air, Mark II was slowly caught up by Ironmonger. Energy is less than 12%. Energy is less than 9%. Jarvis's voice constantly rang in Tony's ears. Stop talking, just show it on the screen. Tony spoke loudly to Jarvis as he continued to fly towards the sky. He was now concentrating on the issue of height, calculating whether he could make Ironmonger freeze directly and fall back to the ground. I can still go back safely. Bang! A sound of metal collision was heard. Tony felt his ascent slow down. Advertisement. It turned out that Ironmonger had caught up with him and grabbed the ankle of the armor directly. Damn it! Tony complained, and Ironmonger pulled him directly into his arms. Two huge amounts of hands directly grabbed Tony's armor's neck. It's like an adult pinching a baby. But the good news is that ice has begun to form on Ironmonger's body. The heights of both sides continued to rise. See, Tony? I'm stronger and more powerful than you. This is the best way to maximize the use of the Ark's reactor. Oh. So how did you solve the ice problem? The last section of extreme altitude was reached by Iron Monster holding the Mark II. The little bit of energy saved was enough to get Tony back to the ground. So Tony was particularly relaxed when he asked this question. What's the icing problem? Obadiah's brain hadn't even figured out why there was any mention of the freezing problem. Iron Overlord, already covered in frost, could no longer hold on. Even the reactor on his chest slowly went out. You should check it out. Tony tapped Ironmonger lightly on the head. Having lost power, Iron Overlord has loosened his hands helplessly, falling rapidly towards the ground. Tony then breathed a sigh of relief. The energy he now has is no longer enough for him to fly back to the ground normally. He could only fall freely while occasionally using a jet to spray flames to slow down his landing. After stumbling along the way, he finally broke the guardrail on the roof. Landed safely on the rooftop of the Stark Industries building. It rolled all over the ground, and even the armor on his left hand didn't know where it had rolled to. Only then did it stop completely. Thank God. Muttering something, Tony immediately contacted Pepper. Pepper, are you okay? Tony, I'm fine, how are you? Just now, Pepper saw Ironmonger and Tony taking off into the sky one after another. Advertisement. The huge amounts of difference in size between the two armors made her extremely worried about Tony's safety. I'm fine, I just ran out of power. I have to take off my armor first. Oh, before he could finish his words, Ironmonger had already climbed onto the rooftop from behind him and punched Tony away. Unfortunately, Tony did not fall to his death as he wished, just like the first time he was frozen. He recovered in midair and flew over again. Tony steadied himself in the air and subconsciously raised his left hand to fire the laser cannon. After stretching out his hand, he realized that the armor on his left hand had rolled away. In desperation, he had to use the little remaining energy to jump to the height of Ironmonger's head. He punched Iron Overlord hard on the head. Bang! But that's all. Without sufficient energy to support it, the punches and kicks of the Mark II armor are just a joke in front of Ironmonger's heavy armor. He reached out his hands again, this time grabbing Tony's armor's waist. He was ready to crush Tony and his armor together. Tony can become Iron Man, definitely not just because of the armor. In such a critical situation, he did not forget to use his right hand to directly cut off some external connecting lines of the Iron Overlord. This is one of the shortcomings of Ironmonger. The entire body of the armor is made of extremely thick pure alloy metal. While giving it powerful defensive capabilities, it also limits its weapon system to only be able to use peripherals. Unlike in the movie, Tony didn't have time to damage Ironmonger's sensor system. Obadiah reacted quickly and grabbed his neck and threw him away. At this moment, there is absolutely no energy left. Tony lay on the ground gasping for breath, and Ironmonger still made a clumsy leap and came directly in front of Tony. It's over, Tony. Bullets couldn't penetrate Tony's armor shell, so Obadiah chose to use his fists directly. Huge amounts of metal fists punched out. Bang! A small, normal human-sized fist appears. He caught Ironmonger's punch steadily. After the dull sound of impact, the collision of two huge and unparalleled forces brought about a shockwave, spreading violently around. I think you should help me buy the furniture for my new house, what do you think, Tony? Qin Xiao nonchalantly retracted his fist, turned to Tony on the ground and said with a smile. Advertisement. Chapter 37. The last video shot by Ten Rings was taken by a terrorist hiding in a residential building. This was taken after the battle was almost over. Mainly filmed Tony's iron armor. As for Qin Xiao, it was only in the last 2 or 3 seconds that we saw the shot of him smashing the tank. Unfortunately, Obadiah had almost finished watching the video, and the camera turned away without him even looking at the rest. So Qin Xiao's punch almost made Obadiah and Iron Overlord drop his jaw. This is impossible. Obadiah got the arc reactor as he wished and activated his own invincible Ironmonger. He also defeated Tony Stark's armor and felt that he was invincible. He was actually blocked by a single punch from someone who looked so thin. This is impossible. Obadiah doubted the authenticity of the punch just now. The arc reactor on his chest exerted its full energy, and he punched Qin Xiao with full power. Judging from the area alone, this punch could almost hit half of Qin Xiao's body. "Come on, a hole!" Qin Xiao shouted loudly. He punched out at the same spot. Tony, who was lying on the side, widened his eyes. He had a deep understanding of how powerful Ironmonger was. Unexpectedly, this punch was obviously more than twice as powerful as the previous one, but Qin Xiao was able to take it head-on. It's obvious. Tony still doesn't know enough about Qin Xiao. Clearly underestimated how shameless Qin Xiao was. Qin Xiao's punch seemed to be one he threw with all his strength. But when the two fists were about to collide, they obviously moved to the side. Qin Xiao turned around and avoided the range of Iron Overlord's fist. Boom! Iron Man's punch hit the rooftop directly, creating a hole in it. Looking at Qin Xiao again, there was a sinister smile on his face. I don't know when a knife handle appeared in my hand. With a flick of his fingers and a flick of his wrist, a black tang sword with a flashing cold blade was already in his hand. Advertisement. He held the knife with both hands and swung it downwards fiercely. There was a flash of knife. The tang sword, which was not even as thick as a palm, cut off the right arm of Iron Overlord armor at the elbow with one blow. FK. Obadiah didn't know what words to use to describe the shock in his heart. Qin Xiao is not a fool. His first punch was to save Tony, and it seemed that he and Ironmonger were evenly matched. But after the punch, Qin Xiao's right hand was obviously a little numb, although it was nothing considering his recovery ability. Then he faced a second punch that was obviously more than twice as powerful as the first one. Only a fool would fight him. Ironmonger's entire body weapon system was destroyed by Tony, leaving only the Gatling gun on his right arm still able to fire. Now the entire forearm was cut off by Qin Xiao's knife. Idiot! Qin Xiao uttered a classic Huxia adjective. Although the Gatling gun posed no threat to Qin Xiao, if he had a weapon but didn't use it, wouldn't that be stupid? Tony, watch me whittle this guy down to a stick. He turned around and said something nonsense to Tony. However, they discovered that huge amounts of flames began to emerge from Iron Overlord's feet, accompanied by billowing smoke. His weapon system was destroyed, one of his arms was cut off by a knife, and he used his flesh and blood body to punch the steel behemoth Ironmonger. All this was a little beyond Obadiah's understanding. So while he was talking to Tony, Obadiah activated flight and prepared to escape. It's just a pity that the bulky Ironmonger's initial acceleration into the air was too slow. Huge amounts of flames gushed out, and the entire body slowly rose from the ground. Qin Xiao looked back and laughed. Hey! You left without even saying goodbye. Look at your jet. We are both armor, but why is yours so unenvironmentally friendly? Get down here. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Xiao swung his blade horizontally, and then slashed it diagonally, twice. Ironmonger's thick metal legs were directly separated from the main body. The flames still had some force left and rose more than 10 meters, spun several times in the air before crashing heavily onto the rooftop. Iron Overlord's heavy body fell down, and Qin Xiao stepped forward and raised his sword again. Ironmonger's left arm fell to the ground. Such a mighty and majestic huge battle armor was cut into a human stick by Qin Xiao's swords. Looking back at Tony, Qin Xiao jumped directly onto Iron Man's bulging body with a knife in hand. I looked for the connection and thought it wouldn't be that troublesome. Anyway, this thing is not considered a special alloy in the system's judgment. Just stab it with a knife and it's over. Advertisement. Just as I raised the tang sword, I heard Tony shouting loudly behind me. Qin! Tony shouted, but said nothing. But the meaning couldn't be more obvious. Qin Xiao also looked at Tony and was silent for a long time before he said a word. Do you remember how many graves there are next to Ethan? With just one sentence, Tony turned away. That's right, the massacres in the Middle East were certainly committed by the terrorists from 10 Rings. But whether it was providing weapons or kidnapping Tony which led to revenge on Ethan later, Obadiah must be included in this heavy blood debt. Tony turned his face away, and Qin Xiao did not pause this time, and slashed with the knife. Obadiah groaned in Iron Overlord. Qin Xiao drew out his sword, changed position and struck again, then he shook off the blood and put the tang sword away. He said he bought an island to retire on, and told me a lot of things like he had figured it out. What a pity. Tony muttered quietly beside him. Okay. I know you don't want to do that. Even if he buys the island, it's useless. We Huxia have a saying, Karma will always pay back. If you owe someone, you must pay it back. Qin Xiao sat down next to Tony. By the way, why didn't you answer the phone? I was in the shower, and I just found out about the phone call after I finished. Jarvis told me, and I came right over. Can you still get up? Yes, but I may need you to help me take off my armor. The current armor cannot fall off automatically. It took the two of them a long time to dismantle the armor piece by piece. Tony looked at the ironmonger in front of him and said after a moment of silence. We can't keep this thing, and the big guy below, too. What happened tonight will definitely be known to everyone. We must destroy these two. Tony is talking about the huge amounts of arc reactor prototypes below. After Tony's micro-reactor and armor were exposed together, this large reactor will definitely attract the covetousness of many forces. Although everyone knows that they are not Tony Stark, they cannot be shrunk just by saying so. But you have to try, right? The temptation of iron armor is too great. How do we destroy it? Do we need to push this big guy down? Qin Xiao pointed at Tai Ba Wang and asked. No need. Let's go down and find Pepper, and we'll watch firework together. Advertisement. Chapter 38. Ironmonger's armor and Obadiah's body. Tony took off the Mark-II after a fight. There is also an entire Stark Industries building. All of them were turned into fireworks by Tony using the gunpowder of a large-scale arc reactor prototype. Tony looked at firework and then at Pepper beside him. There is tenderness and admiration that cannot be concealed in his eyes. After tonight, the playboy suddenly realized how important little Pepper was to him. More than just an assistant in work and life. Only Qin Xiao was looking at the building that was on fire. He frowned and mumbled to himself. How much does this cost? It's hard to estimate if we don't count the prototypes. This building has the Ironmonger and the Mark II, which was only used once. Qin Xiao originally wanted to take the Mark II downstairs, but Tony told him that it had been used and was damaged, so he didn't want it anymore. Damn! It can be restored to its original state with just a little repair. Even though it is made of gold titanium alloy, it is space station grade. Qin Xiao still remembers Tony's expression when he said this, which was no different from an ordinary person throwing away an empty drink bottle. When he was a child, his grandmother would keep the bottles after he finished drinking, saying that she could sell them for money. This was the expression Qin Xiao had when he spoke to his grandmother when he threw the bottle. Throw it away. It takes up space and won't sell for much. He never knew that this sentence could hit so hard. Qin Xiao glanced at Tony, who was whispering with Pepper in the distance. I was thinking whether I should rush up and beat him up or something. This rich BD, the mission to eliminate Iron Tyrant is completed, and the reward points are 1000. The arrival of 1000 points made Qin Xiao feel much more balanced. Obadiah died, and Tony Metamorphosis became Iron Man. Even though Iron Man 1 is over, a total of 4000 points have been obtained. Advertisement. We are one step closer to opening the secondary mall. The first level mall is of little use to Qin Xiao now, and there seems to be nowhere to spend the 3000 points. No, 3000 points, 1 point can be exchanged for 1 million if you travel back in time. Tens, hundreds, thousands, millions. Qin Xiao counted on his fingers and started to wonder if he could become a wealthy dog owner when he returned. After a long calculation, 3 billion is a big deal, but compared to Tony. Okay, Qin Xiao gave up. The plot has come to an end, and the system prompts Qin Xiao that he can return to his own world at any time. At the beginning, Qin Xiao had planned to complete the mission here, and then exchange everything he gained here for his own resources. Whether it is one's own strength or some high-tech technology, the system is even very considerate and gives 1 point to exchange for 1 million currencies. All for the sake of a better life in that world. Although it was a time travel, that place was real life for Qin Xiao. This is more like a copy, a game. But as soon as Qin Xiao traveled through time, he directly entered the Marvel movie world, where he met Black Widow and joined S.H.I.E.L.D., although the title of this agent was a bit watery. He also became good friends with Tony, which made Qin Xiao feel more strongly about this place. Moreover, originally's strength has undergone tremendous changes now, and it is not an exaggeration to say that he is Superman. I can still do something in this Marvel movie world if I could go back to that world. You may have to suppress your own strength. After all, one person cannot take on the whole world, or you may be sliced up and used as a guinea pig for research. Qin Xiao doesn't think that with 30% of Hulk's strength he can be invincible and fearless. This is also why from the very beginning, he insisted on buying a house to get Tony's artificial intelligence program. It is precisely for the purpose of establishing one's own powerful kingdom in that world that can guarantee a stable life in the future. Only when the financial resources in your hands become strong enough can you live without fear. A massive explosion in the Stark Industries building is no small matter. What's more, Tony and Ironmonger had a great time fighting on the street. Countless people saw with their own eyes the two sets of armor flying directly into the sky. Since today's events cannot be concealed, I have to make reasonable use of S.H.I.E.L.D., otherwise I would be unworthy of my identity as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So as soon as the fireworks show started, Qin Xiao called Phil Coulson. Advertisement after all, cleaning up these things is the forte of every intelligence agency, isn't it? So that night, Qin Xiao and Tony went home and had a good sleep. Phil Coulson leads the S.H.I.E.L.D. people to control online public opinion and see how many videos are uploaded online. You have to come up with a reasonable reason within one night, a reason that the public can believe. I don't know if Phil Coulson didn't sleep all night, but it was early the next morning, just as the sky was getting light. Qin Xiao was woken up by the phone call. Phil Coulson, damn it! Did you forget to check the time? Even the chickens on the farm haven't gotten up yet? Did you know that lack of sleep can cause hair loss, you damn BD? Qin Xiao roared as soon as he picked up the phone. FK, FK. Phil Coulson, an honest man, was almost so angry at Qin Xiao's words that he ran away. You are calling a bald man in front of a monk. You are the ones who caused the trouble, and now it's you who have to clean up the mess. What's wrong with asking you to go to the scene to help out now? From a systemic perspective, you are at least one of my subordinates. Phil Coulson himself hadn't slept all night. He touched his hairline and felt that it was moving back a little. He tried hard to suppress the urge to draw his gun and kill Qin Xiao. To be honest, if this was really an ordinary agent, Phil Coulson wouldn't mind teaching him a lesson on how to behave. But as Nick Fury's #1 confidant, he knew about the existence of the Avengers plan. He also knows Nick Fury's purpose of recruiting Qin Xiao into S.H.I.E.L.D. So he could only hold back his anger, but still spoke with gritted teeth. I've been busy all night just to clean up your mess. Shouldn't you come over and give me a hand? Mr. Intern Agent. Haha. Even if your hair falls out a little more, it won't be noticeable. It doesn't matter. I'm still young and I need enough sleep. Qin Xiao's irritability after waking up subsided a little, and he interrupted with a laugh. Although he still had some nonsense in his mouth, he started to get up. Doing these things to fool the public is part of their job. But what happened last night was indeed his own fault, if it weren't for his request from the beginning. When Tony Stark returns, S.H.I.E.L.D. will take Obadiah away directly. Why so many things happened later? Advertisement. Chapter 39. As long as you say what you said above, even if some media don't believe it, they won't be able to stir up too much public opinion. We are very familiar with this aspect and know how to slowly make this matter disappear from the public eye. Phil Coulson said, handing over a note. And your alibi? You were on a yacht at the time. As for Obadiah, he died in a private plane crash a week later. Tony was holding a newspaper and reading today's front page. The headline on it was, "Who is Iron Man?" Iron Man is a really good name. Although my armor shell is made of gold titanium alloy, it is still relevant. I like this nickname. Tony commented on the newspaper. Seeing that Tony didn't respond to Phil Coulson's words, Pepper turned to Phil Coulson and said, "Thank you. Otherwise we wouldn't know how to explain to the media today. Thank you very much for everything you have done. It's okay. This is our responsibility. Moreover, one of our intern agents was also heavily involved in this matter, so this is also our internal matter." It's a rare opportunity for Phil Coulson to tease Qin Xiao. At this moment, Qin Xiao was standing aside in a black suit, looking like a qualified agent or security guard. That's right, this guy is the instigator of this incident. He should go and explain to the media today. Tony pointed at Qin Xiao who was standing aside and said sarcastically. Also, you'd better pay attention to your identity, Mr. Instigator. With the outfit you're wearing today, you should go out and maintain order among the reporters. Yes, Mr. Stark. Qin Xiao answered very professionally, raised his sunglasses on his nose, turned around and walked out, looking like a professional agent. This took Tony by surprise. What did you do to him? This guy suddenly became so obedient. Did you use some brainwashing tools on him? Tony pointed at Qin Xiao and joked. Our boss threatened him that if he didn't cooperate with my work today, he would stop paying his monthly salary. You know, this guy recently bought a nice apartment, so he probably doesn't have much money left. Phil Coulson was smiling brightly, as he had suffered a setback in front of these two guys in the last incident in the Middle East. Although Qin Xiao offered to help this morning, he would never have been so obedient if it hadn't been for Nick Fury's call. To be honest, it's quite rewarding to command this guy. Everything was ready, and Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes outside had been talking nonsense in front of the reporters for a full half hour. Tony opened his arms and let Pepper help him put on his coat. Looking at the cute and lovely Pepper in front of him, Tony suddenly wondered if he had always ignored the girl beside him. What was the Huxia proverb that Qin Xiao told me? A rabbit doesn't eat the grass next to its hole. To hell with that, it must be because the grass next to the rabbit hole wasn't tempting enough. Advertisement. He coughed twice and looked again at little Lei Jiao, who was tidying up his clothes. Tony still felt that it would be more appropriate to talk in another setting. Phil Coulson had given Rod the signal. Rhodes outside had had enough of the nonsense and spoke directly. Now, Mr. Stark has prepared a statement, but he will not be taking any questions today. Thank you. Tony came on stage and the audience cheered loudly. There is no journalist who doesn't like Tony Stark. It's definitely not because he is so likable, but because there are enough news about this guy, and they are shocking enough. Tony looked at the reporters below, and then glanced at Qin Xiao, who was standing in the corner without saying a word. Giving him a provocative look, Qin Xiao calmly and subtly raised his middle finger towards Tony. Puff. Tony couldn't help laughing out loud, then he coughed awkwardly twice and said. I haven't seen you guys for a long time. I prepared a manuscript today. He took out the so-called official statement prepared by Phil Coulson and others from his pocket. Regarding the rumors outside, it is said that I was involved in last night's. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark, do you really expect us to believe such nonsense about a bodyguard in armor? A female reporter interrupted Tony directly. Tony not only knew this female reporter, but also had a one-night stand with her. She has been dedicated to reporting on the Stark Group's sale of arms to outside terrorists. Calling Tony Stark the executioner. Tony hesitated for a moment, even though he had been told not to answer any questions today. But he still couldn't help but point at Qin Xiao, who was standing beside him. Yes, there is indeed a bodyguard wearing armor, and he is right here. He is that guy. Did you see him? The Oriental boy wearing sunglasses and looking cool, that was him last night. Following the direction of Tony's finger, all the flashlights in the venue were instantly aimed at Qin Xiao. FK. Qin Xiao was caught off guard and could only mutter a curse word. Looking at a group of reporters pointing their cameras at him, Qin Xiao showed a rather stylized smile, stretched out his right hand and made a yeah gesture near his chin. The question that everyone was most concerned about at today's press conference was who is Iron Man advertisement. Now that Tony Stark has spoken, no matter whether what he said is true or false, Qin Xiao has become the subject of reporters' interviews. The female reporter was the only one in the audience who was still sitting in the first row without moving. Looking at Tony Stark, he said calmly. He's the man in the armor. Okay, Mr. Stark. Who is this man wielding the narrow sword? The female reporter casually took out a laptop from under the seat and clicked on a video. This is a picture taken with a night scene camera. Although the colors appear to be a little distorted, the picture is not particularly clear. But it is obvious that Qin Xiao wields the Tang sword and cuts off the lower limbs of Iron Overlord who is about to rise. And it can be clearly seen that the person is Qin Xiao. Instead, it was Tony in the corner of the picture, although the helmet of his armor had fallen off. However, because his head was tilted and the picture was not clear enough, we could only vaguely make out that he was a white person. This time, the whole audience was in an uproar again. No one could have guessed why someone would film the final fight scene on the rooftop. The female reporter waited for Tony Stark's explanation with a victorious smile. She had been investigating Tony Stark for a long time, including his love history and his company. In order to obtain first-hand information, she even bribed the security captain of an office building on another street. Not only were there cameras installed for him that could record various situations, but there were also tools for remote video recording. He was also specifically told that if the lights on the top floor of the Stark Industries building opposite were on at night, he should go up and start filming the room where there were people. Just by coincidence, the security guard saw Tony and Ironmonger flying on the road last night. But he thought it was an alien, so he quickly took his equipment and ran to the rooftop to chase and watch. When I got to the rooftop, I couldn't find it. Not long after, I fell from the sky onto the rooftop of Stark Industries. After he had set up the equipment, he figured out how to activate the night vision function for shooting. Then came the scene where Qin Xiao cut off Iron Overlord's foot with a knife. Fortunately, he was not professional enough in using these things, so he only took a clear picture of Qin Xiao's appearance. The picture of Tony in the corner was not very clear because of the angle and focus. Although the Iron Man's appearance was not clearly captured, this is enough for now. The female reporter wanted to see how Tony Stark would deny this matter. Unexpectedly, Tony on the stage was silent for a moment, and then threw the manuscript in his hand onto the table. He admitted it. Let me correct you, that is called Tang Dao. Also, you guessed it right, I am Iron Man. Tony also made a scissors hand gesture to the camera. Advertisement. Chapter 40. The next day, the headline of almost every newspaper was about two men making a scissors gesture. One is a young and handsome Oriental man, and the other is the playboy Tony Stark. There are generally two types of news headlines: Tony Stark becomes Iron Man and teams up with a young Eastern warrior to defeat the evil Ironmonger. Or maybe, Tony Stark and the Oriental boy, two newly born superheroes coming out together. The two scissors hands were also said to be a couple's gesture to show affection in front of the media. Compared with the first one, the second one is obviously more popular among gossip mongers. And compared with Western aesthetics, Qin Xiao does look a little more delicate. Although she can't be described as effeminate, she has good skin and a fair and delicate face. Throwing her into prison would definitely attract a lot of perverted bosses to scramble for her. Even little Lei Jiao, who saw the two photos of the two standing side by side and making hand gestures in the newspaper, joked that Tony and Qin Xiao looked quite compatible. I should burn down this damn media station. It's fine if they just said I came out, but they actually described me as a submissive. I'm a straight man. My little DK is harder than my knife, okay? Qin Xiao pointed angrily at a talk show host on TV who was excitedly telling the ambiguous story of Tony Stark and Qin Xiao. Where is your legal team? Lend it to me. I'm going to sue them for defamation. This is blatant defamation. Qin Xiao slapped the armrest of the sofa, making it make a loud bang. Tony rolled his eyes at him and continued typing rapidly on the computer. Obadiah is dead, and there are many things to deal with within the company. Although he has found a professional team, Tony has to come up with some decent products without the weapons. He is currently designing a renewable energy source based on the principle of the arc reactor, and has also rarely moved his workplace from the garage of his mansion to the company's office. You know, some of the dissatisfaction of old shareholders still need him to comfort them personally. After all, the name Stark is a golden signboard. Tony doesn't really care what people outside say, especially the rumors about him and Qin Xiao, although he is not very satisfied with some media's distortion of his sexual orientation. But compared to appreciating Qin Xiao's anger, Tony felt that this was worth the price of the ticket. Seeing that Tony ignored him, Qin Xiao looked at Phil Coulson, who had just entered the office. Didn't you say you would clean my A? Don't you see, these news reports have seriously insulted my A. Advertisement. This is a country with free speech. You know, we have tried our best to exonerate you regarding Obadiah's death. You know, your actions in the video cannot be considered self-defense. Phil Coulson was talking about the secretly filmed video of Qin Xiao. Iron Overlord obviously had no ability to resist, but Qin Xiao still stabbed him to death with a knife without any hesitation. Strictly speaking, this is excessive self-defense. Then why did you come to see me? You're not here to tell me to go to work, are you? Qin Xiao knew that Phil Coulson would never come to his house for no reason. He had been thinking of returning directly these days, but it would take a few more days because of his house. He still planned to wait until the house was completed and copy the smart program that Tony had specially made for his house before leaving. The boss wants to see you too. I'm here to book a time with you. Nick Fury wants to meet both of them, definitely mainly because of the Avengers project. After analysis by S.H.I.E.L.D., the ability displayed by Qin Xiao far exceeds that of a so-called super soldier. Needless to say, Tony Stark's armor is a groundbreaking weapon. Especially since everyone knows Tony Stark's genius brain. Strictly speaking, this is only the first generation of the product, and who knows how much more powerful it will become in the future. You know, Jarvis, an elementary-level artificial intelligence, is no secret. Miniature arc reactor, iron armor, if equipped with an artificial intelligence command. Coupled with Tony Stark's terrifying financial resources, he alone is a terrifying steel group. After making an appointment to meet 2 days later, Phil Coulson left in a hurry. Qin Xiao learned indirectly that his house would take about a week to complete. Nodding in satisfaction, and just as he was about to turn around and leave, Tony didn't know what he was thinking of. He suddenly looked up and said, "By the way, there's a party tomorrow night. You know, I became Iron Man, and some friends always say they want to celebrate together. There are always some boring rich people, right? More importantly, there are also many beautiful models. How about it, do you want to come? There are a lot of beautiful women there, only a fool would not go there. Black Widow has been missing for a long time, and you can't even find her if you want to harass her." As soon as Qin Xiao came to this world, he had a plan to pick up a beautiful foreign girl, but unfortunately, his plan was always revolving around the plot of Iron Man advertisement. There isn't much chance, but now that there's finally a party, it would be strange if I didn't go. The party was held on the rooftop of a hotel. There are many rooftop party venues like this throughout Los Angeles. Almost every decent hotel has turned its rooftop into a party venue. After all, this is Los Angeles. Apart from anything else, there are so many wealthy celebrities and even film and television tycoons in Hollywood, and parties are an indispensable daily activity. Tony has attended and hosted countless parties like this in his life. But for Qin Xiao, this was the first time that Granny Lu visited the Grand View Garden. Dynamic music, crazy DJ spinning records, professional bartenders, and an infinity pool. The most important thing is that the entire rooftop is filled with girls of all skin colors with big breasts and long legs. Qin Xiao even saw several second and third tier sexy actresses who often appeared on the big screen. This is AFG party. This is life, Tony. You should have brought me to a place like this a long time ago, you know? You should have come a long time ago. The appearance of the two people was definitely a focus of the scene. The most popular figures in the news right now are not politicians or big stars, but Tony Stark and Qin Xiao, a Huxia man who seems very mysterious to the outside world. Tony smiled slightly as he listened to Qin Xiao's excited voice beside him. He pushed Qin Xiao directly into the crowd. "Girls, whoever conquers this little wild bull tonight will be given a new sports car by me as a personal gift." Tony's words immediately caused a climax among the people around him. Nowadays, many girls are new actors in Hollywood, not to mention the rewards from Tony Stark. Just having a little scandal with this Oriental boy can generate a lot of news and popularity. Not to mention that he and Tony Stark are the two newest superheroes after Captain America. As for his affair with Tony Stark, no one cared whether it was true or not. "I had something to do today, so the update will be late. The first chapter will be posted first, and there will be 2 more chapters in the evening." Advertisement. Chapter 41. Surrounded by a large group of beautiful girls, Qin Xiao, who originally came here for the purpose of picking up girls, felt a little restrained. The point is that these people were a little too enthusiastic due to the gossips about popular figures and Tony's sports car. Although Qin Xiao spoke in a very aggressive manner, he was a bit hesitant when it came to taking any actual action. It's not that Qin Xiao is such a gentleman, but according to the traditional Huxia concept, there must be some communication, and a little understanding and emotional foundation before anything further can happen. To put it bluntly, he's a bit stuffy. But no matter how repressed he is, he can't resist being surrounded by a group of passionate girls with amazing bodies. I have to say that although Western women are not as delicate in appearance as Eastern women, their snow-white skin and explosive figures do make up for it a lot. What's more, all the people who came to this party were young girls under the age of 25. It is far from the age when Western women age rapidly. Plus the stimulation of music and alcohol today. After having fun for more than 2 hours at the scene, Qin Xiao, supported by 2 girls with whom he had a very good chat, walked towards the hotel room on the floor below. The organizers of the party had already booked the rooms on the upper floors so that the enthusiastic men and women at the party could have in-depth communication. So Qin Xiao just found an empty room and went in. Almost as soon as he entered the room, 2 enthusiastic little fairies surrounded Qin Xiao, one in front and one behind. The girl in front gave Qin Xiao a kiss, and the girl behind him undressed him while kissing his neck. 2 young and beautiful girls attacking you from the front and back is what many men dream of. Qin Xiao's eyes were blurred for a moment. He pulled and tugged all the way, broke free from his restraints and reached the bedside from the corridor. The 3 people's clothes were almost thrown all the way. Just as he was about to pick up his gun and mount his horse, the damn cell phone rang at the right time. Oh, FK. Qin Xiao cursed angrily, sat up, walked back a few steps, found his pants, and took out his cell phone. Better give me a good reason, whoever you are. Without even looking at the caller ID, Qin Xiao roared angrily. It seems that I ruined someone's threesome, making that person quite angry? Do you want me to join the fight and calm down the anger of our rookie agent? The smiling voice on the other end of the phone put out half of Qin Xiao's anger. Advertisement: the voice of Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff, you've accomplished your mission. Oh my god, you have no idea how worried I was about you. Did you say come up just now? Are you downstairs in the hotel? As Qin Xiao spoke, he looked down furtively at the window. As for what Natasha Romanoff had just said about joining, he simply pretended not to hear it, even though it sounded very tempting. Really? Thank you for your concern. I also missed our rookie agent. I came to meet you as soon as the mission was completed. I didn't expect to interrupt your in-depth communication with the two beauties. Damn it! Qin Xiao cursed inwardly. Although he and Natasha Romanoff had not yet established any relationship, Qin Xiao still had a guilty feeling of being caught cheating. Although I thought so in my heart, I still spoke stubbornly into the phone. Where are the beauties? How about you come up and check them out? As Qin Xiao spoke, he was thinking about what would happen if Black Widow really came up. Should I resort to shady tactics and knock these two girls out and throw them into the next room? Fortunately, Black Widow had no intention of really coming up, but her words made Qin Xiao imagine a lot and his blood boil. I don't like hotel rooms, why don't we just go to your house and have a drink? Qin Xiao nodded his head like a little chicken. Although it seems like a waste to have two beautiful women in front of him, for a party professional like him, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. But there is only one Black Widow in the world. So, amid the angry looks and curses of the two girls, Qin Xiao quickly put on his clothes one by one. He even ran to the bathroom to check if there were any kiss marks on his face or neck. Only then did she tidy up her hair with satisfaction and hurried downstairs. I hurriedly ran out of the hotel gate and saw the temporary parking area in front of the hotel. Black Widow was wearing a black dress with one of her snow-white, straight thighs crossed in front. Leaning on a black sports car with strong lines. What? If you want to leave the two beauties upstairs behind, why don't you bring them down with you? Seeing Qin Xiao in a hurry, Black Widow said with a smile. What kind of beauty is this? I think about you so much every day that I don't have time to look at other women. Advertisement: Qin Xiao lied with his eyes open. Black Widow didn't expose him, but smiled slightly, stood up and opened the passenger door. Let's go. Let's go home. The words "let's go home" made Qin Xiao almost turn into quicksilver, and he got into the car in a flash. When they arrived downstairs of Qin Xiao's apartment, Black Widow held Qin Xiao's arm like a couple. Feeling the warmth and softness in his arm, Qin Xiao grinned foolishly. The pace quickened a bit. There are also a few bottles of top-quality wine at home that I got from Tony. Qin Xiao was thinking about whether to drink some red wine and listen to some music to adjust the atmosphere, or drink some strong liquor to get into the mood quickly. Arriving at the doorstep, Qin Xiao deftly unlocked the door with his fingerprint, pushed the door open and hurried in. He decided that it would be better to have some strong liquor to get into the mood quickly. As she went up the elevator, Natasha Romanoff looked even more attractive under the lights. Oh. FK. Qin Xiao's new house has not been completed yet, and the end of his current small apartment can be seen at a glance. As soon as Qin Xiao pushed the door open, he saw a black boiled egg head on his sofa. He cursed angrily, then looked at the Black Widow who was smiling at him. Qin Xiao understood that the reason she came to see him today was probably to meet Nick Fury. Okay. Nick's incident was just a coincidence. I really wanted to come and see you. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future, little agent. Black Widow smiled and kissed Qin Xiao on the cheek. At this point, what else can Qin Xiao say? The full of emotions was poured down like a bucket of cold water. You'll lose me if you do this again next time, I swear, Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff's kiss dissolved a little of Qin Xiao's resentment. He took a deep breath and said helplessly. But Qin Xiao was not so angry with Nick Fury. Even if you are my boss, you cannot enter my house without my permission. You should know that I can call the police or even shoot you in the head, dear chief. He took out a glass, took out a bottle of wine, poured a full glass, drank the wine in one gulp in anger and said. Advertisement. Chapter 42. Everyone in a high position always has an extraordinary desire for control. Intelligence chiefs like Nick Fury are even worse. This can be seen from the fact that even though S.H.I.E.L.D. was riddled with holes by Hydra, Nick Fury still had enough support and secret power of his own. He likes to be in control of the overall situation and doesn't like things or people that are beyond his control. But I happen to meet someone like Qin Xiao. Whether it's about Ironmonger or his original strength that exceeds that of ordinary super soldiers. Never had any advance notice with Nick Fury. It was only when something happened that he remembered that he had a job, and the purpose of the notice was to ask him to send someone to clean up the mess. If you hadn't told me otherwise, I would have thought you had forgotten that I was your boss. No wonder, you're a big celebrity now, with the title of superhero, and you have a high society friend like Tony Stark. You can't blame Nick Fury for his sarcasm. The last time he talked to Qin Xiao on the phone, he was so angry that he smashed the phone. You can't blame me, my boss. You didn't give me a chance to integrate into my work unit. I don't even know anyone in our department except Natasha Romanoff, Clint, Phil Coulson, and you. I don't know what I need to do every day. You didn't give me a chance. You can't blame me. Besides, it was Tony who asked me to save Obadiah last time. I notified Phil Coulson as soon as I solved the problem. Qin Xiao also knew that he was mostly using S.H.I.E.L.D., so he stopped speaking in anger and spread his hands to show his innocence. What about that time in the Middle East? You were supposed to be on the Quinjet, stolen from the Los Angeles unit, and you were telling me about a yacht party. Nick Fury said angrily, slamming the table. Who told you that the work permit you gave me can't enter the branch? I wanted to go in and apply for a plane, but who knew that my work permit couldn't even enter my workplace? Don't you think this is a joke? Qin Xiao still looked calm and composed, as if he didn't blame me at all. What about Stark? Why didn't you report to me about the iron armor in advance? Nick Fury is aggressive. That's not my job, boss. Did you tell me to monitor Tony Stark's every move? No, so it's really not my fault. Qin Xiao looked like a tough guy. Advertisement. Nick Fury had a headache. Logically, he should have been told about this kind of thing, but he had never mentioned it, nor had he given this kid any training courses. So if he wanted to speak seriously, he really couldn't say anything. Okay. Let's not talk about the past. Can you explain your strength? This doesn't look like the strength of a super soldier. No matter if it's Captain America or Isaiah, they can't deal with that big steel guy so easily. Qin Xiao had no intention of greeting him at all, so Nick Fury could only stand up, take a glass, pour a glass of wine and speak. This is too easy. Hyuxia Kung Fu. You know, I am Hyuxia. The mysterious East always has many mysterious things. Bruce Lee, do you know? Ade. Hyuxia Kung Fu. Qin Xiao talked nonsense again and struck a classic Bruce Lee pose. Hyuxia Kung Fu. Nick Fury, who is no idiot, asked doubtfully. That's right. Hyuxia Kung Fu. Qin Xiao nodded seriously. As if to prove that what he said was true, he asked Natasha Romanoff for a pistol. He imitated the fire cloud evil god in Kung Fu and pointed the pistol directly at his own temple with his right hand. I was thinking about how to say the sentence in English, there is nothing invincible in martial arts, only speed can't break it, so that it would appear more imposing. He fired without any hesitation. Bang! With the sound of a gunshot, Nick Fury and Black Widow looked at him in disbelief. Qin Xiao's left hand, with its index and middle fingers already prepared, quickly stretched toward his right temple. Bang! Qin Xiao's left hand was just parallel to his nose when the bullet mercilessly hit Qin Xiao's temple. Qin Xiao's attention was completely focused on his left hand, and his body was completely unprepared. Black Widow's modified little pistol is very powerful at close range. Qin Xiao's temple was hit by a huge impact and his head swung to the other side. Advertisement. He smashed his body to the ground cleanly. His left hand was still raised high in a victory gesture. Hulk's defense is terrifying. Although it is only 30%, it is not something that a pistol can penetrate. Although it was a fragile place like the temple, there was not even a small red mark where Qin Xiao was shot. From Qin Xiao's actions just now, everyone could see that he tried to catch the bullet with his bare hands but failed. So even though Black Widow and Nick Fury were very shocked, Black Widow couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is what I want to show you, the Huxia Kung Fu golden bell and iron cloth shirt. Qin Xiao brushed off the non-existent dust on his body, sat up again, and said shamelessly. What a great show! Nick Fury clapped dryly. Then he said seriously. No matter where your strength comes from, what I care about is the Avengers project. Now that we have you and Tony Stark, we also have a green giant who can transform, plus Agent Romanoff and Hawkboy. I think this plan can officially start. Both the big guy and Stark have good relations with you. You will be responsible for getting them to join us. Natasha Romanoff will assist you. Any problems? Nick Fury's meaning is very clear. In his mind, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers project should be two parallel lines, cooperating with each other but not interfering with each other. This is also the reason why Qin Xiao was forced to join S.H.I.E.L.D. but was not assigned any tasks or allowed to come into contact with anyone other than his confidants. Join the Avengers program, establish the Avengers with the powerful resources behind Nick Fury, and then combine with a group of like-minded people to start their own business at the right time. This was originally part of Qin Xiao and Tony's plan, and he certainly had no other opinions. Especially after listening to Nick Fury's suggestion, let Black Widow start the pre-establishment work with him. That would be more in line with Qin Xiao's wishes. Nodding to show that he was completely fine, Nick Fury finally nodded with satisfaction and continued. We had agreed to meet you and Stark tomorrow, but I wanted to meet with you today so that you can talk to Stark first, which will facilitate my formal conversation tomorrow. I will provide you with a base, funds, equipment, various weapons, and means of transportation. I will even arrange some enemies for you to practice your tacit understanding. Welcome to officially join the Avengers. Advertisement. Chapter 43. I don't know if it's because of the addition of Qin Xiao. Compared to the movies, Nick Fury is much more open and honest with Tony. He took the relics left by Howard Stark in S.H.I.E.L.D. as soon as he came up. He gave it to Tony as a gift and told Tony directly that Howard Stark was one of the 3 founders of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. After the end of World War II, a military general, a super agent Peggy Carter and a genius scientist Howard Stark founded a Strategic Scientific Corps, abbreviated as SSR. This is the origin of S.H.I.E.L.D. Your father is not just an old man who can only make weapons. His views and influence on the world are far beyond your imagination. He firmly believes that science will eventually bring a prosperous life to everyone and prevent wars from happening. However, he is limited by the times and many of his ideas cannot be realized. He thinks you will eventually change all this. Although he had discussed the attitude towards S.H.I.E.L.D. with Qin Xiao before, Nick Fury's words still touched Tony's heart deeply. After all, in his heart, he thought his father never liked him. I feel like I have accomplished nothing and am totally unreliable. Who knew he would have such high hopes for himself? I know it's hard for you to believe that this is what your father said. Here is something he left for you. If you take a closer look, you will know that the arc reactor is exactly what he thought was his greatest hope for eradicating wars. With renewable energy, countries around the world no longer have to go to war to plunder resources, right? Nick Fury is indeed a good hand at winning people's hearts. He did not mention a word about letting Tony Stark join S.H.I.E.L.D. or the so-called Avengers plan. Naturally, Qin Xiao was responsible for doing these things. He just tried to build relationships and took out what Tony Stark desired most. Approval from his father. It hits the heart. So whether it's something taken out from Nick Fury, the origin of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Tony and Qin Xiao's personal little plan, it is a foregone conclusion that Iron Man will join the Avengers. As for the big guy Hulk, Black Widow said that he is still continuing his research while receiving a series of special training. It allows him to control his emotions and heartbeat more perfectly, so that he won't transform into the Hulk in his daily life. But Qin Xiao knew that Hulk and Banner were one and the same in a sense. The more you suppress it, the more likely it is that an irreversible situation will occur in the end. Advertisement. Just like Banner in Avengers, he was in perfect control at ordinary times, and even when he transformed in battle, he let Black Widow directly control Hulk's temper. This led to Hulk taking control of the body on Sakaar for 2 years. Although he knew it, Qin Xiao would not interfere too much now. The main reason is that he himself doesn't have any better solution. After seeing the relics left by his father, Tony plunged into the laboratory. Qin Xiao knew that because of the problem with the arc reactor, Tony should have discovered the palladium poisoning. Before officially starting the site selection work with Black Widow, Qin Xiao's house was finally completely settled. He drives an Audi R8 borrowed from Tony's garage, which may be for advertising sponsorship reasons in the movie. Audi often appears in Marvel movies. But coming to the real world, there is a more realistic explanation for why Tony likes Audi. It was Tony who helped improve Audi's engines. You have to know that Tony Stark is a super scientist with his own traffic. With his endorsement, the importance of Audi's entire brand is self-evident. Audi also sends Tony its latest models every year. Recently, a new car was delivered, and Qin Xiao shamelessly drove one away on the grounds that the garage had limited capacity. I came to my new apartment and entered my fingerprint on the fingerprint lock. "Welcome home, Mr. Qin, I'm your housekeeper, you can call me Nicole." A slightly playful young girl's voice sounded. Nicole. Qin Xiao smacked his lips at the name. It sounds like it tastes like boiled eggs, but that's not important. The key is the practicality of artificial intelligence. This is definitely not comparable to Jarvis. After all, Tony has modeled all his knowledge theories and the known operating rules of the universe into Jarvis. Advertisement: this allows Jarvis to perform any auxiliary computing and scientific research work Tony needs. But in comparison, Nicole is much more down to earth. In addition to the various specially made furniture and electrical appliances in the house, all of them can be controlled by Nicole. There are also some auxiliary functions, such as alarm clock, time reminder, outside weather, and you can even watch a movie at home and discuss some plots with Nicole. Definitely, this must be a movie that has already been circulated in the outside world. After all, Nicole's positioning is different from Jarvis. She obtains existing film review data from the outside world, and communicates with her master after screening it by herself. Qin Xiao doesn't understand things that are too profound. In a word, if it is used at home, it is perfect. This is what intelligent life should look like. In Qin Xiao's previous life, many artificial intelligence-like products appeared in the world, combined with specific furniture and electrical appliances. It is also possible to achieve the effect of direct control with a command, but the sending and receiving of commands of that kind of thing are too rigid. Sometimes it is even more convenient to do it yourself. He didn't take the first opportunity to properly visit his new home, and he also ignored the photo that Tony had put on his bedside, in which the two of them made the scissors hand gesture and were cut together by the media and made the headlines. Qin Xiao directed Nicole to open the secret room behind the bedroom bed. This thing also has a manual button, right behind the photo of the two of them. When Qin Xiao's palm is placed on it, it will automatically scan and open. This is a specially modified secret room. The entire secret room was poured with a special alloy by Tony. Even if the entire building exploded, this secret room would become a heavy metal container if separated from the reinforced concrete outside. Enough to withstand damage from intercontinental ballistic missiles. This secret room is a small study, which is equipped with a desk, a computer, etc., as well as a small camp bed and a toilet. It's simply a temporary shelter. I have to say Tony's arrangement is quite thoughtful. The artificial intelligence program that Tony specially made for Qin Xiao, Nicole's server, was placed in this small study shelter. This is Qin Xiao's ultimate goal for Nicole, to copy its program. Advertisement. Chapter 44. After Qin Xiao confirmed with the system several times that he had traveled through time and space, he found out whether the flow rates in both worlds had completely stopped. Qin Xiao decisively chose to return to the original world. Although the system did not give any time limit for Qin Xiao to travel back. But this is Qin Xiao's basic world after all, his roots, and the more he stays in the Marvel world, the more he will miss it. The longer the time went on, the less sense of belonging Qin Xiao felt here. This was not a solution, so Qin Xiao decisively chose to return. Everything went dark and I was completely lost. Everything around me gradually became clear, and it was still the rental house converted from a garage. It was inevitable that I felt a little uncomfortable moving from a luxury apartment in Los Angeles to a rental house. What's more, in that world he is a member of the Avengers, a SHIELD agent, a friend of Tony Stark, a new generation superhero, and so on. It was a bit strange to suddenly return to such a place. But fortunately, the system has prepared everything for him. He can exchange points for wealth and also has an artificial intelligence that is beyond this era. System, if I travel through time again, can I do it anytime and anywhere? Qin Xiao asked the question that he was most concerned about first. He had been told before that he could travel back in time, but he forgot to ask about the conditions. The time limit is 15 days. To travel across worlds, you need to accumulate enough space energy. The host needs to stay in this world for 15 days before you can start the next travel. The system's voice sounded lifelessly. 15 days is 15 days. Time on both sides has stopped anyway. It doesn't affect anything over there. Qin Xiao sorted out his thoughts and prepared to think carefully about how he should develop in this world in the future. There was a rapid knock on the door. Hello, this is Nana Tong Express. A loud voice sounded at the door. Houses converted from garages usually use simple and cheap aluminum alloy doors. Several doors are installed in a group at random, and 2 movable ones are used as the main door. So when the courier knocked on the door after he shouted, the entire row of aluminum alloys began to buzz. Qin Xiao frowned and went over to open the door. A folder, I took a look and there was no sender's address on it. I don't know if the phone number is in my phone, and I don't recognize the name at all. I opened the folder and took a look, and it was a beautifully made invitation. Advertisement. The invitation was quite creative. When I opened it, the first thing that caught my eye was the sketch of a couple's wedding photo printed on it. I don't know whether it was drawn by someone or made by software. Without even looking at the name, Qin Xiao recognized them at a glance. They were the couple who had deceived his previous life. Son of ABCH. A nameless fire suddenly emerged from Qin Xiao's heart. I was so excited that I almost tore the invitation into pieces. It was not until a small crack appeared on the invitation that Qin Xiao suddenly calmed down. What happened just now? A little cold sweat broke out on Qin Xiao's forehead. Although he has all the memories of that unfortunate predecessor, what happened to him is not important to him. More like a spectator, Qin Xiao was determined to avenge him. But there is no way I would let myself lose composure like this. Is this your last bit of obsession? Or should I say wish? Don't worry. Brother, since we have this fate, I have inherited your body and skills, and naturally your hatred. They will not have it easy. Qin Xiao lowered his head and spoke to himself in a low voice. I don't know if Qin Xiao was right, or if a more scientific explanation is that the previous incarnation left behind some hatred for these two people or this incident in his brain. Anyway, after Qin Xiao said this, the hatred in his heart slowly subsided. System, help me exchange 500 points of currency. Qin Xiao said to the system. 500 points are enough to exchange for 500 million currency. Points are still very important to Qin Xiao. Who knows how many good things will be given out when the secondary mall opens. So Qin Xiao didn't dare to change too much at once. 500 million was already a huge fortune. If there is really something that is not enough, Qin Xiao can redeem it again at any time. In less than a minute, 500 million yuan was directly deposited into his account. In the words of the system, it is fast, efficient, safe and has no problems. After taking a look at some old things in the garage, Qin Xiao had no regrets. He strode out. He wanted to live well for the former Qin Xiao, which did not mean he had to be nostalgic about the past. He is an independent individual. Advertisement. I casually called the landlord and told him that I no longer wanted to rent the house and didn't want the things inside. As for the deposit, Qin Xiao gave a card number, and it didn't matter whether it was refundable or not. Qin Xiao only brought an invitation, in addition to his cell phone and his ID card. The date above is 10 days later, and the location is a luxury hotel in Shanghai. The Magic City, the place that the dead man Qin Xiao once longed to go to when he started his own business. At that time, he was in love with his girlfriend and his best brother. The three of them lived in a county town near Shanghai, imagining that one day they would be able to develop in Shanghai after the project was successful. Fulfill your dreams and have your own place in this one of the best cities in the world. When it comes to thinking of ideas and exploring the market, Qin Xiao can be said to have shown the greatest passion. The efforts were not in vain, and the project expectations were getting higher and higher. However, who would have thought that at the last moment, he would be kicked out by his most beloved woman and most trusted brother? He laughed at himself, not knowing whether this emotion came from himself or that damn Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao stepped down from the high-speed train. Looking at the busy platform, Qin Xiao was not in a hurry to leave the station. Instead, he slowly lit a cigarette. For Qin Xiao now, taking revenge on that couple is just a matter of snapping his fingers. What we really need to do is to utilize the resources of the Marvel world to quickly gain a foothold in this world and grow stronger. Put this city under your feet. Demon City. Sir, here I come. Qin Xiao showed a wicked smile on his face and whispered to the bus stop sign with the words "Mo do not far away." The train is about to leave. Standing inside the yellow line is a death wish. Get out of the station. A middle-aged woman in work clothes was standing not far away with a loudspeaker, yelling at Qin Xiao. Hey! Go now! Sorry! Sorry! Qin Xiao tightened the backpack behind him, lowered his head and fled in panic. There are only 2 chapters today, from Marvel back to the city. I have to think about how to straighten out this urban line. I'm afraid it won't be exciting if I write too much, and I'm also afraid you won't like it. I want to make it as compact as possible and make it more exciting. If you have any suggestions, for example, if you don't like reading the urban part, you can also leave a message to tell me, and I will try to shorten it. There will still be 3 chapters tomorrow, and the first chapter will be posted this afternoon. Advertisement. Chapter 45. The Longfengxiang headquarters in Shanghai is different from the magnificent Longfengxiang branches that are now spread all over Daxia. The decoration style of this century-old store is closer to the old Shanghai of the last century. There is not too much exaggeration in colors and lights, it is low-key yet luxurious, and every place is ordinary and extraordinary. It is very much like the old Shanghai of the last century, with its own old-fashioned style amidst the lights and wine. The old store is not big, just a 3-story building with a total area of no more than 1,000 square meters. A wooden plaque that looks quite old has 3 large Huxia characters written on it in a flamboyant and graceful manner. There is a large parking lot of over 1,000 square meters at the entrance. Putting aside the practicality, in Shanghai, where every inch of land is valuable, a gold and silver jewelry store has thousands of square meters of ground parking lot in front of it, which is originally a symbol of strength. Since it is an old store and the head office, the business is naturally different from that of other branches. The old store's business is mainly customized in Huxia style. The diamond and jewelry businesses that were thriving in other branches were not available in the old store at all. Only some gold, silver, and jade jewelry are customized. A new model of this year's Rolls-Royce Phantom Acacia Wood Edition slowly arrived at the door of Longfengxiang's old store. Without waiting for the driver in a black suit and white gloves to get out of the car, the doorman in charge of welcoming guests at the door ran over in 2 or 3 steps and opened the back door with familiarity. Welcome to the century-old Longfengxiang store. As the fairy sound at the door rang, a young man in casual clothes got out of the car. Slippers, shorts, and a white linen shirt. An extremely casual outfit. The doorman had sharp eyes and could tell at a glance that every piece of clothing on this seemingly casually dressed young man was a summer limited edition of a luxury brand. Even the pair of slippers on my feet cost almost a month's salary. The smile on his face became even brighter. The first floor is full of finished jewelry and jade, and the second floor is dedicated to custom-made products. We have the best designers and masters in the industry here. Would you like to shop on the first floor first or go up to the second floor for tea? Go to the second floor and call your manager over. What I want this time is quite special, so I need to have a good chat with him. Qin Xiao smiled and nodded. Naturally, someone in the store took Qin Xiao to the second floor. There is a hall on the second floor. On the walls are hung the names and photos of some designers and carving masters, as well as their previous works, awards and honors they have received, etc. The top designers and craftsmen in the store generally won't make a sale easily unless you spend a lot of money or have some top quality materials. After being taken around the hall, the store manager came out in a hurry. He took Qin Xiao into the small rooms next to the hall. Advertisement: each room here is designed to look like a small tea room, specifically for entertaining various high-end customized customers. The manager led Qin Xiao into the room and asked him to choose a kind of tea. Then a girl who was responsible for making tea came over and made a pot of tea. Pour a full cup and wait for Qin Xiao to drink a cup of tea. The manager then slowly began to talk about business. Mr. Qin, do you want a piece of jewelry or decoration? Or do you have a rare piece of material that you would like our master craftsman to carve? Qin Xiao held the empty teacup in his hand and gently pushed it in front of the little girl, waiting for her to fill the cup with tea again. Then he said to the manager with a smile. I don't need a very professional master. I'm going to make something out of pure gold. It's very large, so I'll need a lot of gold, but I don't have any big requirements for the carving. A large quantity? The manager just felt that this deal might not be as big as he had imagined. It's just gold. What do you want to make out of gold? A chair, a table, or an exquisite ornament? I wonder what Mr. Qin needs to order? Furniture? Buddha statues or something else? Although the manager was slightly disappointed, he still asked very politely. Coffin. Qin Xiao drank the tea in the cup in one gulp again, put the cup heavily on the coffee table and said. 5 days, Qin Xiao gave them 5 days. The carving doesn't have to be exquisite, but it has to be square and look like a standard coffin. A coffin made of pure gold, logically speaking, Long Fengxiang would not accept such a thing. However, in addition to the market price of gold, Qin Xiao also charged a processing fee of 1 million. This made it difficult for the manager of Long Fengxiang to refuse. They have quite a few processing factories that produce everything from Buddha statues to furniture and other large items. It is nothing more than smelting to make molds. Everything will be easy once the money is in place. It was agreed that the goods would be delivered in 5 days, and Qin Xiao walked out of the store leisurely. Uncle Wang, let's find a place to eat first, and then find a nightclub, one that's bigger and has a more mixed crowd. It doesn't matter if it's not in the city center. Qin Xiao spoke to the driver as soon as he got in the car. This is the 3rd day since Qin Xiao came to Shanghai. The car was newly bought and the driver is an old Shanghai resident, whom Qin Xiao hired temporarily through the hotel where he stayed. He is very familiar with every part of Shanghai and his salary is paid on a daily basis. After finding a place to have dinner, the driver drove the car to a building in the eastern suburbs. Advertisement: this is probably the most chaotic place in Shanghai. There are bathrooms, KTVs, and nightclubs. As long as you have money, you can find any service here. It might be because Qin Xiao had been very generous and polite in his words these past 2 days and was very respectful to him. The driver, Uncle Wang, hesitated for a moment and spoke again. Mr. Qin, let me say something. You have a good family background and you are still young and in your prime. It's okay to have some fun and indulge yourself in a life of drunkenness and debauchery. But there are some things that you must never touch. If you touch them, your life will be ruined. Uncle Wang kindly reminded. He thought that Qin Xiao specifically asked for places where good and bad people mixed together, and wondered if he had any bad habits. For example, taking addictive drugs. Qin Xiao laughed and patted Uncle Wang on the shoulder. Thank you. Your worry is unnecessary. I just came here to find someone to help me with something. After saying that, he took out a thin stack of banknotes and stuffed it into Uncle Wang's hand. You can get off work first today, and I'll drive you back to the hotel later. You can come to the hotel and see me tomorrow. Uncle Wang was skeptical about Qin Xiao's words, but he was just an employee and his words had been spoken. He sighed slightly, took Qin Xiao's money and got out of the car. It's just past dinner time and the nightclub here hasn't opened yet. There weren't many people in the bathhouse and KTV. After parking the car in the parking lot, Qin Xiao walked straight into the bathhouse. Following the deafening welcome from the guests at the door, a waiter took Qin Xiao towards the lobby. This bathhouse is of good quality, and the lobby is more than 10 meters high. The waiter took Qin Xiao to sit on the sofas on both sides. Brother, if you want to take a shower, I'll help you change your shoes first. The waiter said respectfully, holding a pair of slippers in his hand. I'm not taking a shower. I'm here to discuss some business with your boss. Can you please ask someone who can make the decision to come out and talk? Qin Xiao said with a slight smile. In a place like this, how could anyone come and see the boss? The waiter was slightly stunned, but still smiled and said. Brother, I can't just meet the boss casually. If you have anything to say, just tell me directly. If I can't make the decision, I'll ask our manager to come out and serve you. Is that okay with you? The words were still polite, but there was a hint of strength in them. Qin Xiao didn't mind and reached out to pick up the ashtray from the coffee table in front of him. If I want to destroy the place, can you make the decision? Advertisement. Chapter 46. Bang! The heavy ashtray hit the coffee table hard. With a loud crash, the strengthening glass shattered into small pieces of irregular circular pieces the size of a coin. There were receptionists dressed in doormen's clothes and security guards in black suits carrying walkie-talkies around. More than 10 people came out from nowhere and surrounded Qin Xiao in an instant. What's going on? A man at least 1.85 meters tall, over 35 years old, wearing a black suit pushed through the crowd and came to the waiter who brought Qin Xiao in and asked. Brother Lu. When the waiter saw the man coming, he quickly bowed his head and greeted him. Then he leaned close to the man's ear and quickly told him what had happened. While listening to the waiter's story, the man glanced Qin Xiao up and down. Qin Xiao was wearing all luxury goods and had a calm expression on his face. The man didn't dare to come up and say something final. Instead, he waved his hand and asked the people below to disperse. He sat down on the single sofa next to him. Brother, I don't know if our service here is not thoughtful enough to make you angry. If our service does not satisfy you, come to me. What do you want to play here today? I will treat you. Uncle Wang had told Qin Xiao in the car before that this place was run by a so-called gangster. Although this is not the city center of Shanghai, this 6-story building has many entertainment facilities such as KTV, bathhouse, nightclub, etc. No matter whether the building was built by himself or rented, it is not something that ordinary gangsters or ordinary people can afford to run. With such a status, people won't even look at an ordinary fight, but if you step on someone on the street, they may bow their head and say sorry to you first. In addition, Qin Xiao's entire body is of considerable value, and he appears to be fearless. So this man who looks like the head of the security guards will start by saying polite words to clear the way for you and first see where you come from. Advertisement. Qin Xiao was too lazy to waste time talking to him. He just tossed out a bank card with a snap. There's 2 million in this card, and the password is 6 zeros. I don't care if this is your boss or your big brother. We're here to discuss some small business, and whether it succeeds or not, this little bit of money is a gift for meeting you. With 2 million to clear the way, this man no longer dared to make a decision easily. He just said wait a moment and got up to make a phone call. Within 2 minutes, the man came in and spoke respectfully to Qin Xiao. Our boss is busy right now. If you don't mind, I'll arrange for you to go upstairs and take a bath to relax. He will be back to meet you in a while. Good. Qin Xiao didn't act pretentiously. He stood up and followed the man upstairs. After arranging Qin Xiao, the man ran to the lobby and quickly swiped his card and took a look at the balance. After confirming that the number was correct, he picked up the phone and called his boss again. June 27, 2021, the 18th day of the 5th lunar month. Year of Xinzhou, month of Jiwu, day of Bingwu. Taboo, opening a business, cutting wood and making beams. Suitable for, getting engaged, finalizing engagement, traveling, and moving to a new house. For the Huxia, this day is not considered an auspicious day for marriage, it can only be described as ordinary. But Guo Xinliang still chose this day, for the reason that it is 518th in the lunar calendar and its pronunciation means I want to be rich. The landline phone on the bedside table rang at 4:30 sharp. This was the wake-up service that Guo Xinliang specially booked with the hotel last night. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the naked and graceful figure next to me, half covered with the quilt. Advertisement. I opened the curtains and saw the sky outside was beginning to get light. Looking down from the luxurious hotel room on the 30th floor, one could vaguely see a crowd of early risers starting to go out onto the streets below. He was staying in a suite in a luxurious hotel, and lying on his bed was the long-legged model whom he had longed for but could never reach. Guo Xinliang is very satisfied with his current life. For all this, he was willing to sell out his brother, whom he had grown up with, and even sell out his own marriage. Standing on the balcony, breathing the fresh air, lighting a cigarette, and dialing the number of my wife on my cell phone. Hello. A muffled and somewhat angry voice came from the phone. The corners of Guo Xinliang's mouth twitched, and the voice seemed to completely destroy his good mood. You're not awake yet? What time is it now? Do you know what day it is today? The makeup artist will be here soon to do your makeup, right? What did you do last night? Did you go to a nightclub and drink for half the night? Guo Xinliang lowered his voice, trying not to appear so angry, but he could not hide the blaming tone. What's your attitude, Guo? We agreed to play our own games. When you dragged me to embezzle Qin Xiao's company shares, you acted like a lapdog in front of me. What? Now that the company is about to go public, you're so awesome? Are you turning your back on me? Let me tell you, according to the agreement, the management rights of the company are in the hands of the two of us. Without me, you will just become a small shareholder, and sooner or later you will be kicked out by the venture capital company. The woman's voice suddenly rose several decibels, and she seemed very dissatisfied with Guo Xinliang's tone of pointing fingers at her. Shut up. You are obviously greedy, stop putting the blame on me. I don't care how you play normally, but today is our wedding day, and you actually brought a gigolo back to the hotel from the nightclub last night. Guo Xinliang clenched his fist and smashed the balcony railing hard. Mr. Guo, you are so funny. Don't tell me that you don't have any women around you right now. Stop being so hypocritical. 1 year after the company is successfully listed and the shares can be traded, I will break up with you. I warn you, don't bother me if there is nothing to do. If you annoy me, I will transfer the shares to someone else. The woman on the other end said this viciously and hung up the phone. Chu Feng, UBCH. Guo Xinliang almost couldn't help but smash his phone to pieces. I'm late, there's still one chapter left. Friends who go to bed early can read it tomorrow morning. Advertisement. Chapter 47. 3 years ago, Qin Xiao mortgaged his only house. He tried every possible means to borrow a huge sum of more than 3 million yuan, and finally raised 5 million yuan to start a company. We mainly produce claw machines in cinemas, KTVs and other entertainment venues in 3rd and 4th tier cities. Provide machines, dolls, and some maintenance services. Those entertainment venues provide venues, power supply, equipment cleaning and daily maintenance, etc. Qin Xiao, who was working alone at the time, asked his girlfriend Chu Feng to be in charge of finance, while his childhood friend Guo Xinliang was responsible for answering and making phone calls in the company, maintaining clients, and other tasks. Qin Xiao contributed money and effort and alone holds 60% of the shares, while Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng each hold 20%. It was fine at the beginning. Although the company was small, Qin Xiao worked hard without hesitation. I insist on visiting 3 counties every day, focusing on local shopping malls, cinemas, KTVs and other places with huge amounts of traffic. Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng also manage the company's internal affairs every day, taking care of the purchase and shipment of goods, actively communicating with customers, improving the appearance of the dolls, and if a machine breaks down or the dolls are gone, they will quickly arrange for the goods and people. The profits became more and more stable, and the business expanded to 70 or 80 counties at once. Qin Xiao, who was exposed to the wind and sun outside every day, did not expect that Chu Feng and Guo Xinliang would look into each other's eyes in the office every day. Not only did they have an affair, they also planned to team up to take over his company. Guo Xinliang, who answers the phone in the office every day and looks like a boss, is becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the 20% shares Qin Xiao gave him. As the income continued to increase, Chu Feng became dissatisfied with Qin Xiao for holding on to the company's money and not distributing it as a dividend for the time being. Qin Xiao is intent on expanding the company first, while Chu Feng is intent on enjoying life first. So the two people who had already been in an affair put a share transfer document under a normal contract, and coaxed Qin Xiao, who believed in them, to stamp and sign it directly. Just like that, he kicked Qin Xiao out of his company. Not only did he end up penniless, but he also owed a lot of debts. Qin Xiao fought the lawsuit for a whole year. But the two of them were well prepared, and Qin Xiao was now penniless and couldn't even afford a good lawyer. In the end, he lost the case. In desperation, he chose to commit suicide by taking pesticides. Unexpectedly, over the past year, the company, which has undergone its second round of financing, has grown bigger and bigger and is now on the verge of going public. Poor Qin Xiao, he worked hard every day in the early days to occupy the market and lay a solid foundation for the company, but ended up making wedding dresses for others. Guo Xinliang is different from Chu Feng. With such a large market, he understands the value of the company very well. With good control of this company and the huge amounts of clients at hand, there will be many other businesses that can be done smoothly in the future. Advertisement apart from anything else, with so many cinemas under your control, even if you set up a small factory to make some new type of popcorn with reasonable price and taste, you can give a little kickback to the store managers of those cinemas. These are all businesses that are sure to make money, after all, the customer base is there. But Chu Feng is different. As soon as the company goes public, he takes advantage of the good market to sell part of the stocks to get a large amount of cash, and then keeps some shares to earn dividends every year. That was enough for her. This is also the reason why Guo Xinliang felt helpless when Chu Feng said that he would transfer the shares to someone else in the future. Financing and listing can both enable a company to grow rapidly, but if one is not handled properly, it is easy to lose the company to others. Once you lose management rights, no matter how many shares you hold, others will find a way to slowly dilute you and then kick you out. This is also why the two of them stuck together from the beginning and were willing to tie their interests together through marriage in order to fight against capital. Take control of the company's voice in your own hands. You lowly BD, once I have established myself in the company and have acquired your shares, I will kick you out sooner or later. Guo Xinliang was so angry that he bit the cigarette butt and it made a squeaking sound. No matter how estranged they are now, they still wish the other would die. We still have to perform the wedding scene well today. After contacting the planning company and the makeup team, Guo Xinliang got a brand new look and set out from his newly renovated new home to pick up Chu Feng at the hotel. Neither of them is from Shanghai. Although they bought a house here, it was for the purpose of marriage process. Chu Feng still put on makeup and changed clothes in a hotel. Guo Xinliang picked her up from home and took her home, and then set off to the hotel where the banquet was held. The company is about to go public, and Guo Xinliang is quite sociable. I have made a lot of friends in just 1 year since I came to Shanghai. An Aston Martin coupe was in the lead, followed by more than a dozen BMW 5 Series. Although such a fleet is not luxurious, it looks young and energetic, which is quite good. There were drums and gongs along the way, and they came to the hotel from home in a lively manner. Red carpets, inflatable arch bridges and other items had already been set up at the entrance of the hotel. Exquisite European flower baskets covered the ground on both sides. Relatives and friends held salutes and streamers in their hands, waiting for the motorcade to slowly approach and for the bride and groom to enter. The convoy was less than 50 meters away from the hotel. Another convoy appeared across the road on the side of the hotel. Leading the way was a Rolls-Royce Phantom, followed closely by a row of red Ferrari sports cars. There were as many as 30 or 40 of them. Advertisement as luck would have it, just before Guo Xinliang and his convoy entered the hotel, they were blocked on the road in front of the hotel. What's going on? Guo Xinliang, who was sitting in the lead car, felt a pang in his heart. It is not auspicious to have the wedding car blocked at the door. No one from the opposite convoy got out of the car to talk, and they just stopped strangely in front of the hotel. Guo Xinliang's people quickly confirmed with the hotel staff whether there was another couple getting married today. The hotel staff also looked confused. After confirming several times, they booked a wedding banquet today. After a stalemate of several minutes, there was no other choice but for a relative of Guo Xinliang to walk towards the Rolls-Royce with the hotel staff to ask what was going on. "Excuse me, we are getting married here. Would you mind giving way?" The hotel staff knocked on the car window and talked, and Guo Xinliang's relative quickly took out a red envelope. According to the Huxia custom, on happy occasions, if there is anything going on, red envelopes are given to pave the way for good luck and good fortune, and no trouble is caused. I came here just for the wedding. The bride and groom are both my old friends. I came here to attend the wedding. Qin Xiao opened the car window and smiled at the two of them. He opened the door and got out of the car. Qin Xiao definitely dressed up deliberately today, wearing a pair of custom-made British-style leather shoes. He was wearing a designer casual suit from Europe, which matched his tall stature and a confident smile on his face. As soon as he got off the car, he attracted everyone's attention. Qin Xiao is now completely different from before. Not only did he have a new soul, but he also dealt with Tony Stark every day in the Marvel world and attended countless high-end cocktail parties with him. Coupled with his strength and money as a foundation, his temperament and confidence are definitely not something that ordinary people can imitate. "Sir, you are here to attend the wedding. Please move your car out of the way. You are blocking the newlyweds' motorcade." The hotel staff spoke to Qin Xiao politely. Qin Xiao smiled slightly towards the oncoming car. "I'll let you in right away, until my gift arrives first." Just as he finished his words, more than a dozen large pickup trucks appeared out from nowhere. Each bucket was filled with a white wreath with a photo of the bride and groom printed in the middle. More than a dozen pickup trucks were parked illegally in the middle of the road. Countless burly men in black suits emerged from the front of the car. They were burly and looked like they were not good people. Each of them held 2 wreaths and rushed towards the hotel entrance aggressively. Advertisement. Chapter 48. Dozens of fierce and powerful men and hundreds of wreaths were neatly placed on both sides of the red carpet from the hotel entrance to the street. This all happened too fast and too suddenly. A convoy of luxury cars blocked the door, and a group of people in black suits came over holding wreaths and spread them on both sides of the red carpet. Moreover, this group of men in black suits did not just place the wreaths, they formed groups of 2, and dozens of people stood on both sides of the red carpet across the wreaths, and it seemed that they would not allow anyone to remove the wreaths easily. "You, who are you? What do you want to do?" Guo Xinliang's relative pointed at Qin Xiao and asked tremblingly. The man from the hotel was smart enough to keep his mouth shut and not ask any questions. Sending a wreath on a happy occasion must be due to a deep hatred. The key point is looking at the convoy and the posture, it is clear that the person who came is not an ordinary person. He would not meddle in other people's business and just turned around and left. Qin Xiao ignored Guo Xinliang's relative and waved his hand. More than a dozen people in black suits got out of the Ferrari fleet behind him. They ran over and took away Guo Xinliang's relative, and at the same time stopped the relatives and friends of the bride and groom who were coming out of the hotel. In this situation, most friends would definitely not meddle in other people's business. Only the families of Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng came out to argue. But this group of people were stopped at the hotel entrance by a group of burly men in black suits. Anyway, they didn't hit or scold anyone, so you can yell if you want. I just don't want you to come out and disturb Qin Xiao. Even the newlyweds' motorcade was like this. Except for the lead car, every car had two people in black suits standing in it, preventing the newlyweds' relatives and friends from getting off. Seeing that the scene was almost ready, Qin Xiao walked towards the first car of the newlyweds with a smile on his face. Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng in the car were completely confused as soon as Qin Xiao got out of the car. More than half a month ago, the two of them asked someone to check Qin Xiao's current situation. He was in a daze and only thought about taking back the company. He had no stable job, lived in a garage in the county town, and was often asked to pay back his debts. For some unknown reason, Chu Feng even asked someone to express an invitation. But looking at the scene in front of him, Qin Xiao could not afford the rental of this fleet, not to mention that there were so many people. The two of them claimed that they knew everything about Qin Xiao, but the scene before them completely exceeded their imagination. And look at Qin Xiao's dress and his temperament. If it weren't for this familiar face, they really wouldn't have believed that this was Qin Xiao. What? Don't you recognize me? I came to your wedding and even made such a big scene for you. Aren't you going to say thank you to me? Qin Xiao knocked lightly on the rear window twice and said. Advertisement. Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng in the car looked at each other. Guo Xinliang took a deep breath, looked up and lowered the window. Qin Xiao, why are you here? After mustering up his courage for a long time, Guo Xinliang blurted out some nonsense. Didn't you send me the invitation? Qin Xiao took out an invitation from his pocket and threw it into the car window. When Guo Xinliang saw the invitation, he turned around and looked at Chu Feng fiercely. Although I don't know what happened to Qin Xiao, there is no way to hide in today's situation, and it is not the time to make a fuss. The key is to look at the situation. You won't be able to defeat them no matter how much you make trouble. This woman Chu Feng usually looks very fierce, but when the time comes, she dares not to speak. Guo Xinliang had no choice but to put on a smile uglier than a ghost and speak. Qin Xiao, I know we both feel sorry for you, but today is our wedding day. Can you please wait until after we get married to discuss anything? Indeed, what Guo Xinliang said was right. Now with so many relatives and friends watching, we have to bite the bullet and get married first. You sound like I'm here to collect a debt. I'm just here to attend your wedding. Look, I've prepared a motorcade and flowers for you. Look at your fleet, what the hell is this? You're going to be the chairman of a listed company soon, this is not worthy of your status, brother. Qin Xiao said with a grin. Guo Xinliang was almost furious. Who would bring a wreath instead of fresh flowers to a wedding? They didn't cause any trouble or hit anyone, so it's no use calling the police. Sending a wreath is not against the law, right? Thank you for your kindness, but my motorcade is already here. Can you please let us in first? The wedding is about to start. And can you please take down your flowers first? Guo Xinliang said with gritted teeth. Definitely. Qin Xiao snapped his fingers. He waved to the back, and the convoy, along with the pickup trucks, slowly drove into the driveway and left. You already have the motorcade, but you can't refuse me the flowers. Get out of the car quickly. I'm still waiting to greet the bride and groom. Qin Xiao took out a twist-and-shoot firework ribbon from somewhere and said to Guo Xinliang with a smile. Guo Xinliang was in a dilemma, and the convoy slowly entered the hotel. He pulled Chu Feng, who was reluctant and a little afraid to face Qin Xiao, out of the car. Advertisement. Looking at the wreath standing upright on both sides, Guo Xinliang can be said to be adaptable. He took a deep breath, then slowly walked onto the red carpet holding Chu Feng's hand. Qin Xiao expressed his deep admiration for Guo Xinliang from the bottom of his heart. How could you bear this? However, how could Qin Xiao, who had carefully planned for more than 10 days, only have such a small surprise? When he saw the newlyweds walking on the red carpet, he waved his hand vigorously. I saw the men in black suits standing on both sides of the red carpet reaching out from behind the wreath and pulling out a twisting and spraying ribbon tube. Bang! Bang! Each person sang 2 songs in unison, as if they had rehearsed it. Countless pieces of confetti shot out from the streamer tube. But what's inside are not the usual shiny ribbons, but white paper money the size of copper coins. Red carpet and balloons at the entrance of a 5-star hotel. A newlywed couple in formal attire, followed by a few people who looked like best men and bridesmaids. However, both sides of the red carpet were filled with wreaths used in funerals, and the ceiling was covered with dense white paper money. Incredibly weird. Among the guests, some people did not care about the matter and turned a blind eye, while others had already called the police. Some people turned on their mobile phones to capture this rare and strange moment. Some were pushing and shoving a group of burly men in black suits at the door. Finally, as paper money was flying all over the sky, someone couldn't help it anymore. I don't know whose relative it was on either side, but he shouted, "You bastards are going too far." But before he could do anything, many vehicles in the hotel's parking lot opened their doors. Another group of men in black suits rushed out. The difference from the previous ones was that each of them held a gleaming dagger in his hand. Although Qin Xiao had instructed them not to hurt anyone, they still caused such a scene at someone else's wedding. It was impossible not to be shocked, and sure enough, this group of men in black suits holding sharp weapons rushed forward. Those who were not calm immediately calmed down. Even if there were 1 or 2 impulsive people, they were held down by their relatives and friends. Qin Xiao said as he looked at Guo Xinliang and Chu Fang, whose faces turned pale. "Do you think I'm a little too much?" "I think so, so I specially prepared a big gift for you. It was specially made for you too. It's very valuable." Advertisement. Chapter 49. As the most important thing that Qin Xiao specially went to Long Fengxiang to order, the coffin made of pure gold was delivered a long time ago. It was in a small van in the hotel parking lot Qin Xiao was fully prepared for today. Qin Xiao waved slightly towards the van. 2 men in black suits ran out, each pulling a bullock cart that was specially used to haul heavy goods. 2 more people got off the car, 2 outside and 2 inside, and pushed the golden coffin along the carriage. With a clang, it landed steadily between the 2 ground bulls. "Brother Lu, is this coffin really made of pure gold?" The man in a black suit pushing the cart in front whispered to the one behind. "That should be the case. Who cares about him? Anyway, the boss said that this guy is the god of wealth. If he comes to cause trouble, he will get a big red envelope. This is much safer than going out to fight in a group. Stop talking nonsense and do your best." The 2 men, one in front and one behind, one pushing and the other pulling, placed a golden coffin weighing hundreds of pounds across the middle of the red carpet. The big golden coffin had a faint label of 99% gold with the words Dragon and Phoenix on it. Everyone present was completely speechless. A coffin made of pure gold would weigh at least 300 or 400 kilograms. 300 or 400 kilograms of gold, what does that mean? Even when the price of gold is the lowest, it would cost tens of millions. Even if the 2 have a grudge against each other, the previous series of operations are disgusting enough. Why spend so much money to send a golden coffin? At the same time, many people present had the same idea in their minds: if someone disrupted their wedding and gave them a pure gold coffin, they would just accept it even if it was unlucky. Guo Xinliang didn't think so. Present today were many business people and partners whom he had met in Shanghai in the past year. Not to mention the impact of this wedding: if I really take this coffin, how can I survive in this circle in the future? Countless thoughts were swirling in Guo Xinliang's mind, but he was not afraid of what Qin Xiao would do to him. He didn't believe that he would dare to beat himself up or kill anyone on the spot with so many people present. The scary thing is where Qin Xiao got so much money and so many people. If Qin Xiao gets up again, there is no doubt that I will have a hard time. "Qin Xiao, what do you want to do?" Guo Xinliang said to Qin Xiao with gritted teeth. "What do I want to do? I came to your wedding and gave you such an expensive gift, and you ask me what I want to do. You 2 bastards took away my company, my wealth, and my property. Do you know what kind of life I've been living for the past year? Do you know that I drank pesticide to commit suicide? Now I'm back from hell. What do you think I want to do?" Bang! Qin Xiao became a little excited as he spoke, and slapped Guo Xinliang in the face. Advertisement. Although Qin Xiao tried his best to control his strength, he still slapped Guo Xinliang 7 or 8 meters away. Not only did most of his teeth fall out, but half of his face was swollen like a pig's head. His head tilted and he fainted. Ah! Guo Xinliang was slapped away by Qin Xiao. Chu Feng on the side let out a scream of fear. Qin Xiao turned his attention to his so-called ex-girlfriend. Qin Xiao. Seeing Qin Xiao looking at her, Chu Feng was trembling and unable to speak. After spending several years with Qin Xiao, this was the first time I realized that Qin Xiao in front of me was so unfamiliar. You what? You sent me an invitation for your wedding. You wanted me to come and see how miserable I am and laugh at my joke, didn't you? Now that I'm here, why can't you say anything? When Qin Xiao started to take out the invitations, Guo Xinliang looked at Chu Feng angrily. He knew that it was Chu Feng's idea to send the invitations. I'm sorry. Qin Xiao has experienced a lot in Marvel and has killed many people with his own hands. The aura he exudes is not something that ordinary people can resist. Just taking a simple step forward made Chu Feng tremble so much that she didn't know what to say. Sorry. Qin Xiao lowered his head and muttered something, then raised his hand and slapped Chu Feng, sending him flying. Mr. Qin, don't make a big deal out of this. Someone inside has called the police. They should be here soon. Please leave first and leave this to us. The head security guard who was at the bathhouse that day, still wearing a black suit, ran up to Qin Xiao respectfully and said. Okay. Sorry to bother you, brother. I forgot to deliver the last gift for me. Don't worry, Mr. Qin. After a long fuss, Qin Xiao patted his butt, got on the Rolls-Royce and drove away. He rented the Ferrari fleet, so naturally someone drove the cars back. Qin Xiao had just left when a video suddenly appeared on the huge LED screen outside the hotel. The picture above is of Chu Feng and a man having S*X on the bed in the hotel. Then the scene flashed and showed Guo Xinliang and another woman. The last scene changed to show Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng quarreling loudly in a room. At first, the two accused each other of cheating too blatantly, but after a few arguments, they turned back to the matter of deceiving Qin Xiao into signing the shareholder agreement. Advertisement. Chu Feng pointed at Guo Xinliang's nose and said that if it weren't for his cooperation, he wouldn't be in this situation. Guo Xinliang cursed Chu Feng for being a scumbag, saying that it was obviously because of his greed that he teamed up with him to cheat Qin Xiao. In short, the two of them blamed each other, and they explained everything about how they had deceived Qin Xiao. As soon as the 3 short videos came out, the whole audience went wild. Soon the police arrived at the scene and finally put an end to this farce. The group of men in black suits that Qin Xiao brought over didn't hit anyone at all, there was just some reasonable pushing and shoving. And the gleaming daggers that were taken out earlier were all magic props bought from the small commodity market. These problems are handled one by this group of hooligans who wander on the edge of society and the law. It's nothing more than going into the police station, taking a look around, and then coming out. There are 2 things that are really serious. One was the 2 slaps Qin Xiao gave out, which was already a serious act of injury. There is also the last conversation between Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng in the video. However, these 2 things can be done either way, and as long as the parties involved do not pursue the matter, there is no need to bear criminal responsibility. It was already afternoon when Guo Xinliang opened his eyes in the hospital. Qin Xiao's slap not only broke all his teeth, but also gave him a slight concussion. The hospital said you're fine and you just need to rest for a few days. Your aunt and uncle went to see off the relatives. What happened, Liangzi? Is it true that you and Chu Feng cheated her ex-boyfriend's company? Guo Xinliang's cousin poured a glass and said. Cousin, you, ouch. As soon as Guo Xinliang opened his mouth, he felt pain in his cheeks. Cousin, who told you this is? Guo Xinliang's cousin knew that something was almost wrong when he saw his expression, and he coldly threw a cell phone at him. Above are the 3 videos played this morning. Except for the first 10 seconds, everything else was recorded clearly. This is impossible. How could this be secretly photographed, Qin Xiao? Guo Xinliang knew very well what all this meant to him. Even if he didn't have to go to jail, he was afraid that everything he had now would be blown away by the wind. By the way, cousin, where is the big golden coffin from the wedding? Is it still there? At this moment, Guo Xinliang remembered the coffin, which was made of pure gold. Even if he was disgraced and had nothing, as long as the coffin was there, he could still return to his hometown and live a good life. After you fainted, Qin Xiao slapped Chu Fang again and left. Before the police arrived, the group of men in black suits moved the coffin away. Before leaving, they cursed at you for not knowing what you were doing and for not wanting such an expensive gift. Guo Liang was so angry that when he opened his mouth, a mouthful of blood spurted out from his gums, with a glaring back tooth sticking out. Advertisement. Chapter 50. Brother Qin, I've heard from the brothers below that your trick is really amazing. You brought wreaths, paper money, and a coffin, and you went to attend someone's wedding. Haha. It was in the KTV of the entertainment city in the eastern suburbs, in the 888 internal reception room. A man in his 40s with a square face and a generous look was holding up a wine glass and talking to Qin Xiao. The man's name is Shi Aguo, a very old-fashioned name that also seems a bit funny when paired with this surname. But he is a man with a great reputation in the entire underground world of Demon City. The overall environment is becoming increasingly severe. Some of the so-called big brothers in society who are not capable of showing off their abilities in stealing, killing, and violence are either running away or going to jail. He was able to operate in the grey area in this environment and build such a large entertainment city. He is definitely a very capable and intelligent person in the society. Qin Xiao spent 2 million that day. It was not a big deal if there was no fighting or hurting anyone and just gathering a crowd to cause trouble. So this time everyone is happy, things were done smoothly, and the money was earned happily. Besides, the 2 million is just a beginning. Brother Shi, it's all thanks to you that your brothers worked so efficiently and beautifully. Otherwise, my show wouldn't be so exciting. I'm just collecting money. You're too polite, brother. Shi Aguo laughed, raised his glass and clinked it with Qin Xiao again, then spoke seriously. Brother, the coffin was not given to them for free. The brothers got it back. What do you think we should do with it? Should we take it to your own place or melt it into gold bricks for you? Shi Aguo's service can be considered quite thoughtful. Qin Xiao was not pretentious and had never thought of this as a one-time deal. Then he waved his hand. There is no reason to take back what you have given away. Coffin, the so-called promotion and wealth, since that couple is not lucky enough to enjoy it, if you don't mind, brother Shi, just consider it as my reward for your hard work. To be honest, he threw out 2 million yuan when we first met, saying it was a gift. I originally thought that after this matter was done, I would at most throw in a few $100,000, just as a reward for the hard work of my brothers. There will definitely be dealings in the future, but this one involves tens of millions of dollars. Shi Aguo has come this far, so he will definitely not be paralyzed by the sight of money. Advertisement. I just did a small thing and yet such a huge amount of money was spent. How can I feel at ease? Brother, let's not beat around the bush. I'm a gangster. I wouldn't mind if there was a dead man lying inside the coffin, let alone a coffin. But today I just did something trivial for you. The gift is enough. If a piece of gold that big falls on me, I'm afraid I won't be able to catch it. For an entertainment city like that, it would probably cost hundreds of millions, right? A few tens of millions shouldn't be that costly, right? Qin Xiao pointed at the magnificent decoration around him and said. Oh! How can I be that powerful? Even though we make money easily, we have to support a lot of brothers and manage everything. Not much actually goes into our pockets. This is just a small private property of the big boss. I am just helping him to keep things under control and act as a watchdog. He doesn't despise me for my background in the underworld and gave me a small amount of shares. Shi Aguo did not hide anything and spoke straight to the point. Okay. Since brother Shi is so straightforward, I won't be hypocritical. I don't want to rely on my family for food, so I went to the Magic City to develop a little career. But I'm new here and I'm unfamiliar with the place. I need someone to lead the way, and I also need someone who can protect me. Although Qin Xiao did not say what he was going to do specifically, it was definitely a legitimate business. He just needed some people to run errands and help find people locally. If there are any troubles in the future, it would be good to have someone to help take care of it. He doesn't have any friends in Shanghai. For example, this time, he didn't even have the means to rent a team of Ferraris, and it was Shi Aguo who stepped in to get it done. Having a local boss who is reliable and sensible makes everything much easier. After both sides talked it out, Shi Aguo felt much more relieved. But he still kept it in mind. Regarding the golden coffin, he just said that it could be exchanged for a membership card here, and Qin Xiao could come and spend money anytime in the future. It's nothing more than changing the way it says things to leave yourself a way out. Qin Xiao didn't mind. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future and they could get along slowly. Regarding the troubles between Guo Xinliang and Chu Feng, Shi Aguo helped Qin Xiao find a lawyer. In exchange for the return of the company's shares and compensation, Qin Xiao would not sue the two people. Naturally, the two of them did not dare to pursue the matter of Qin Xiao injuring others. With Shi Aguo, an old hand, around, it didn't take long to figure out exactly how much wealth the two of them had. Apart from the company's shares, the amount of compensation was almost the last bottom line for the two. They were left with nothing and now they were in debt, and what happened at the wedding ruined their reputation. They definitely can't stay in the Magic City anymore. Advertisement. Shi Aguo was still afraid that Qin Xiao would not feel satisfied, so he drank too much and spoke to Qin Xiao mysteriously. Car accidents, drowning, all kinds of accidents, even if two people with AIDS seduce those two dogs, is there no problem? Selling out their brothers to seduce their sisters-in-law, I can't stand these traitorous bastards the most. Qin Xiao smiled and shook his head at this. As long as the two of them no longer appeared in front of him, it would be enough. Things have turned out like this, and the two people who have been accustomed to a luxurious life will definitely live worse than dogs from now on. The fact that I was able to travel here and obtain the system was more or less due to the efforts of these two people. There is no need to kill them all. It turned out that Qin Xiao had no interest in the company's shares, so after getting them, he sold them directly to venture capital at a low price. Qin Xiao invested 5 million yuan in the company at the beginning. After selling the shares, he directly cashed out more than 80 million yuan in cash. All in all, it's already a big profit, and it also makes up for the money I spent during this period of time. After dealing with all these messy things, Qin Xiao began to entrust Shi Aguo to help him find a place in the city. He planned to set up a high-tech company. Use the artificial intelligence designed by Tony to open up the market and gain a firm foothold in Shanghai. Site selection, registration, and headhunting company recruiting were all done by other people, so Qin Xiao suddenly entered a period of doing nothing. It has been more than 20 days since I returned, and I have enough energy to travel through time again. Bored, Qin Xiao began to ask the system. If I travel back in time again, will I still need to advance the plot by one stage before I can travel back in time? That's right, the Marvel world needs to advance a big plot before the host can choose to return. System, is there any way that I can switch between the Marvel world and reality at will in the future? Qin Xiao continued to ask. I don't have enough authority. I can only tell the host that this restriction will definitely change in the future, but it will be difficult to change it at will. The specific changes will be known naturally after the host gradually becomes stronger. All right. Qin Xiao nodded and started the journey again. Finally, it has reached 100,000 words. I will update 4 times a day starting tomorrow. I will see how long it will last. At least this week, it will be fine. Today, it has just reached 100,000 words. This is the first time that the website recommends traffic. If you like this book, I hope you will add it to your bookshelf, give it a 5-star rating, and click on the urge for updates. These data are very, very important for a new book. Thank you everyone. Advertisement. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.